Welcome back to the Ride Boundless podcast. I just want to give out a shout out once again to all the listeners. Thank you for subscribing, listening, and remember to share. This episode of the podcast is brought to you by Ride Clean. Use this shit on everything. Cars, motorcycles. I use it on my glasses, my helmet, stains off my leather jacket. I mean, shake, spray, wipe, UV protection. It's pretty. I got the script here. I'm going to read it, but I use it on everything. Check out their Instagram. Check out Ride Boundless. You'll see some tags there. So here it goes. Superior shine and protection for your car or motorcycle in any kind of weather. Ride Clean offers an affordable, ultra-premium alternative all-in-one wash and wax. Clients conscious of their vehicle's need for UV protection and the environmental risk of chemical exposure. And what that means is instead of mixing soap and cleaning your bike outside in the street and getting all that dirt and soap and oil and all that shit that goes into drains, with Ride Clean, it's literally spray, wipe it, it stays in the rag. And that's what that means. Ride Clean offers a worry-free cleaning and waterproofing solution to windows, polishing leather without residue, and maintaining of paint jobs. Even if you have vinyls or a custom paint job, you can use Ride Clean. I've done it a million times. You won't have any issues other than bling bling. Wash, wax, polish, and seal within minutes using Ride Clean's ultra premium formula. Ride easy, Ride Clean, Ride Boundless. Check it out. It's at rideclean.co. Use promo code RBPodcast to get 15% off. That's RBPodcast at rideclean.co or rideclean.us. On this episode, we have a very good friend of ours. He rides with us. He's an actor. He's a performer. Also, as a first time at the Ride Boundless podcast, we were able to get this one on video. So whether you want to see Nate's sexy symbol face or just the background of a print shot by Luciano, check out this version of this episode on YouTube now with Nate Scholz, actor, world traveler, thrill seeker, gamer, and much, much more. When he's not being super cool, he's being super lame and just playing video games. But we love him. So let's get this started right now. My man, Nate, what is going on? I saw you rolling up in a car. What is up with that?
Yeah, well...
And sorry, I had to bring that up because I've never seen you in a car.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't like it.
What happened?
Some asshole stole my bike.
Is it true?
No, it's true. It wasn't some false insurance claim, contrary to what Jaime might have you believe.
But
it really happened.
I saw the video.
Yeah, I know.
They just literally jumped on and took it, huh?
Yeah.
Guy had a helmet, looked suspicious.
In a secure garage. No, he took the helmet from somebody else in the garage.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Dude was, it was planned. He was casing the place for a while.
Did, I mean, what took place? Did he hotwire it? Did he just turn it on, the ignition?
Yeah.
It just wasn't.
Yeah. I mean, because it's a secure garage. We have cameras. We have, 3 security guards that are like around. It's Marina Del Rey. It's a nice area. And
great place to target.
Yeah. And so, they'd done things like this before in the past where there would be people that would come in with a pickup truck and they would pick up 3 Ducatis and set them in the back because they're like a light bike, but nobody can do that with, a Dyna or a big Harley. It's too heavy. And so there are pros that have done this, and they usually space it out, I think, like a year at a time. They come and do some big hit, and so there was like a bunch of theft that all took place over that 2 days, like cars broken into, a bunch of like bicycles stolen,
And cops don't give a fuck, unfortunately. When it comes to those kind of things, I mean, I respect the cops. I know they get busy, but they zero fucks given when it comes to theft and
they didn't care at all.
Property.
I called them. I waited 3 hours after calling, and nobody showed up. And then I called back and I was like, yo, where's like the squad car? And they're like, oh, actually, we sent that to the wrong jurisdiction. I think that's actually LAPD. And we'll transfer you to them now. They're like, yeah, we're not coming out. It's not an act of crime. So you can come to us tomorrow. And I was like,
make a report.
Yeah.
File.
I was like, oh, with what car? Because they stole my bike. And they're like, well, you can take a taxi. And I was like,
right, because
really?
because until then, that was your only transportation. You ride every day. You ride to every destination, work, business, casting, etc.
It was life.
It is life.
On two
and
wheels.
then what's this? This is a rental or just family?
No, it's a new car. I mean, well, not a new car. But
you bought a car?
Yeah, it's a Acura NDX. It's just a little an older one, just so I have a second vehicle until I get my new bike.
Do you know what you're gonna get?
I'm just gonna get a Dyna again, man.
Yeah,
I love Dynas.
Dyna boys.
No,
Dyna boy. No,
just Dyna love. Just it's the vibe, man. We were talking about it a little earlier. Me and Jaime, there's just a vibe. There's a vibe with the Dyna, and I vibe with it.
That's right. And if you don't know, now you know.
Yeah, now you know.
How you dealing with? I've been asking everybody just because it's just a hot topic. How you dealing with the COVID-19? Are you working? Are you not working? As a matter of fact, I think this is a great opportunity. Introduce yourself to how you would introduce yourself.
Shit, depends who I'm talking to. My name's Nate Scholz. What's going on, everybody?
Instagram?
Nate A. Scholz, spelled Scholz, the real German way. Not that ULTZ nonsense.
That's right.
The real Scholz.
Represent.
Scholz. Yeah.
Ja.
Oscar Flufken.
Ja. Yeah.
I'm an actor. I also design custom clothing on the side for some very affluent people. Done that for about 13 years, which is great because anybody who's in entertainment knows that until you make that 1%, work ebbs and flows. So it's good to be able to have something else, especially something else creative that you can do that allows you to maintain a lifestyle and not
something you like. Yeah. And it pays well.
It does.
So it's like on-demand customization of clothing, or
I
mean, what do you do? Shirts, the jackets, clothes, suits. Yeah,
suits, shirts, jackets, everything. It's like 35 measurement pattern creation. We have factories that we work with.
What does that mean? 35 measurement.
35 measurements of your body, like to create a pattern for you. So it would be something that, especially for a guy my height or build, we don't fit off the rack.
Right.
So if you ever want to actually look like a guy in a magazine, unless you're 6'1" and you weigh like $140, it's never gonna happen.
Yeah, it's never gonna happen. I struggle with that. At my height and the width of my shoulders, it's just a fucking nightmare. I can never get a suit off a rack, and unless if I mix match it and they don't know about it, and then I tailor it, and then maybe drop some weight.
But even then,
it's still not the same.
It was never meant for you in the first place. And a lot of the times people don't realize that the difference of your shoulders, like your shoulder width compared to your chest, is always set off the rack. And so if you have a very big chest and a broader shoulder, they're going to have to bump your jacket size up. Like, let's say you're 42, you have to wear like a 46 if you have broad shoulders. So then you're swimming in it even more, and then the waist looks...
And the waist looks fucking ridiculous. Yeah. Then it makes you look shorter.
Yep.
Yeah, it becomes a problem. Then the pants are all fucked up because then they come like in a 38.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's a nightmare.
Yeah, it is.
What got you into that? What's your experience? Family background?
Oh, no, not at all.
German thing? I'm just...
Yeah, no. Weirdly enough, in college, I actually won nationals at this... thing called NCSC, which is National Collegiate Sales Competition. So it was the top 100 marketing students, I believe, from 50 universities. So you competed locally to win the right to represent your university. And then you went to nationals, and it was essentially like a March Madness 3-day elimination tournament kind of thing. And I was fortunate enough to beat out the top 100 students in the nation and took first at this thing and had like 50 job offers from it. And being a young, dumb college student who, made the mistake, as we all do, of pursuing money over love, over passion of something, took a job that offered me the most, the move to LA, which is where I wanted to be, a signing bonus, the whole LA market, a big salary and all this stuff. And it happened to be with a company doing something like that. And so that was initially what got me into it. I had no prior experience, no desire,
and passion.
No. And so that naturally
it just fell onto your lap.
Yeah. And then left the company I was with, and then kind of pursued it freelance, and that's what I've been doing, for the past 8 years now.
Is what you make? Is it your own brand? Do you brand it, or
it's just through a very close friend of mine. He used to work at the same company, and then started his own thing, and so DCLA is the company, or by DCLA.
What's DC stand for?
This is his name, Deepak.
Nice.
And so
shout outs.
Yeah, Deepak Jawwal. What's up, buddy? So yeah, I'm freelance through that basically.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I'm probably gonna hit you up for a suit.
Gotcha, man.
How's COVID-19 affecting the whole actors category? And do you believe in COVID-19? Do you think it's bullshit? Do you think? And this is kind of, it's changed throughout our guest, but obviously for the actors, it's the studios are closed. You know, nobody's filming. A lot of Zoom calls, but that's not getting movies done. How's this affecting your life?
Yeah, I mean everything. It's been dead. Like completely, everything shut down.
Everything.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I've seen some of this stuff. These a few casting offices are doing, some auditions that they're just doing self tapes for no random role, just to keep actors acting and things like that. But no, everything.
Is there any movement going on in the whole industry? Is there? Are they doing like online castings? Are they trying to plan anything? Is there any movement, or is it just completely just stopped?
As far as most actors are concerned, 99% of them, everything is completely dead. There is movement. Some stuff read Hollywood Reporter. Various production companies are trying to work within a new COVID-friendly production environment. And so trying to find new ways to run a production within kind of new COVID guidelines. And so very limited production teams, very limited sets and things like that. And so I just read something today about Tyler Perry doing it actually, and trying to bring people back for a couple seasons of his show, and that he's actually going to have them stay on his studio lots in Atlanta for the remainder of filming for the season. Like, so they can't actually leave to go out and possibly like get it and share. And so kind of quarantine, down the studio in order to resume production. So things like that are starting to take place, but there was such an influx of TV through all the numerous streaming services that have come out, Disney Plus, Hulu, Netflix, Apple, that we're not necessarily at a shortage for content. So the studios, the theatrical industry is hurting big time from this. On-demand TV stuff is all the streaming services are booming. Their viewership is up. But as far as I do a lot of commercial work, TV and movies and stuff, and so that's all shut down. And so there's nothing been going on with that. Same with like the suit design stuff.
It's retail.
Yeah.
I think they just opened up some retails, but it's all fucking minimum controlling, and people don't have the same money to spend on a suit that they used to have.
Yeah.
It's a pretty dramatic problem. And the worst part is it's not like you just go out of the country and film a movie there, because the whole world's going through the same thing.
The whole world's shut down. Yeah.
Did you see the whole UFC fight, how they did that?
I heard about it. I didn't watch it. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like two fighters in the octagon. There's a referee like at a distance. They had Joe, announcer. It's weird. They basically had like 8 people, one camera guy or 2 camera guys. And it's fucking interesting times. And do you believe in the COVID-19, or do you think it's bullshit?
No,
or do you think it's government conspiracy? There's the ID 2020. There's the Bill Gates thing. There's the fucking.
Yeah.
The list goes on.
And I watched a lot of that actual summit, and it's eerily similar to every single thing that's transpiring right now, and that was done in November. I've researched this. Among UFO phenomena, but also. I hate the word conspiracies because so many of them are that has such a stigma with it that they're called conspiracy theories, but in reality, a conspiracy theory comes about because there is enough facts about a subject that don't make sense. There is enough holes in something that's transpiring, enough things that enough people have called bullshit on that you're like, wait, this isn't right. Something doesn't add up here, where there's something fraudulent going on. There's lies. Something's being covered up. Something is not true, but you don't know what that is, or you don't know the reason for it. What is the motive behind in this case, COVID. Why are we, collapsing the global economy for this? People then come up with ideas for what that is. Those become conspiracy theories. But the reason why those are there in the first place is because the facts and numbers don't back up the claims. They don't back up.
Give an example of.
Well, I mean, so at this point, there have been enough doctors that have come forward that have said that this is nonsense. I'll preface with this.
But the whole thing is nonsense, or there's a certain part that's nonsense?
No, I mean, COVID is real. It is a virus.
It is a virus. It's been around for a while.
Yeah,
it's not a brand new virus.
No. You had SARS, you had MARS. They're all a part of that.
11, 12B, whatever, in 2011.
Yeah. But take note, nothing happened.
Yeah.
We didn't shut down anything. We didn't quarantine anything. This virus exists. It as all SARS viruses do, it attacks your lungs. We know that. But based on the numbers, based on the reality of what's going on, and the number of doctors that have come forward, number of EMTs and coroners who've said that, like, look, we're being incentivized to code these things as COVID related. I mean, unless you are literally like shot in the street, like where it is obviously like a homicide or something like that, they are told to code it as a COVID-related death, which is absolutely absurd and obscene. And enough people have come forward saying this, that, I mean, it's also in the bill. So, the whole stimulus bill that came through, a lot of the money is going to outside of big corporations, which is hilarious because they're not the ones that are suffering during this. A lot of the money is going to hospitals in a sense that, I don't know if you've been in an ER lately.
I haven't been to an ER, but I do know a few hospitals and people that work in ERs, and I want to hear what you got to say. But I've been hearing financially they're getting pretty fucked. Well,
they're definitely getting fucked, and they're completely empty. I've been to the one in Marina Del Rey by me about 4 times now over the past 2.5 months.
It's slow.
It's empty.
Yeah,
it's completely empty.
Right.
You wouldn't know that by watching the news. You watch the news and you're going to see the same New York hospitals.
I don't watch too much news. I avoid it as much as possible. I many people have brought up that point to me, but I don't, there's not a part of me that thinks hospitals are super fucking busy because of COVID-19.
Yeah.
And the people that I do know in hospitals are actually telling me we're slow. And the reason we're slow is because there's a lot of surgeries and there's a lot of treatments we're not doing because we're not doing. I have a source. He was going to try to get masks from blah, blah, blah into the state, blah, blah, blah. And I reached out to like 3 different hospitals and I said, if I get you guys masks, would you guys be able to, try to broker a deal or work it out or a donation or something? And he's like, the hospital's not going to buy nothing. They're not making money. And because they're not making money, they're losing money. And because they're losing money, their budgets are fucked. And because their budgets are fucked, they're not going to buy nothing.
Yeah.
They warned us. Once we're done, we're done. And all the nurses said, well, if we don't have any way of protecting ourselves, we're not showing up to work. So I get the hospitals are shut down, but are the news saying hospitals are filled and flooded?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's
like that's a legit.
Well, it's all about framing, right? This formula has been used throughout the dawn of time, but especially in the digital age, or since TV and radio were invented. I'll start with this. You ask anybody 4 or 5 months ago, do you trust the government? Do you trust media? Most of the time, almost every single person is going to be like, no way, man. I don't trust the government. Like they're criminals and lying in their pockets and, lobbyists and all this.
Depending, the people we ask are probably going to say that.
Well,
but that's not majority of America.
But most people, there's a distrust. There's a distrust for the government, right? That's safe to say.
Again, most people I know and absolutely. But there's this big percentage of Americans, 320 million Americans. I would say mostly everybody I know doesn't trust the government.
Yeah.
It's the biggest mafia in the world.
Yeah.
They'll take away your freedom. They'll take away your money. They'll take away your kids. They'll take away everything.
But we could agree.
But I think there's a big part, like especially in the middle of the United States, it's like I trust my government 100%.
But those people, they only trust one side of the government. They trust
that's true
their
too.
side.
Their side, yeah. Right. So, but their side is government.
But of course. But by and large, because of that, that lack of trust for one side of the aisle or the other, pick your side.
They're blindsided.
Yeah, but there is a lack of trust there because the irony is they don't trust the other side. Democrats don't trust Republicans. Republicans don't trust Democrats.
Right.
But they, never stop to think that like all the stuff that which it's not like they're wrong about the things they're pointing out about the other side.
Right.
They're true.
Yeah.
A lot of it's true.
Right.
But they never look at the fact that like all the things being said about them is also true. So it's this lack of trust for the other side per se. But a lot of people, and I believe more and more people today are like you and me and, people that we know are starting to have a complete distrust for the government. And that's just through track record, essentially, of everything that's happening.
I agree with that.
But the same with the media, where, everything from the fake news and knowing that, there's no such thing as, unbiased journalism anymore. Each of the major, in mainstream media anyway, they all have an angle. Like they're no one's just
more of an agenda.
Yeah, agenda, exactly. Yeah. So because of that, it's obvious at this point that, if you were to ask a lot of people, like I said, 5 months ago, do you trust the media? Most people would be like, well, no, outside of maybe my Fox News or, my MSNBC, whatever they choose to watch that reinforces their ideology and view structure, they're going to have a distrust for everybody else. But yet now, as like a consensus across, the country and the world, they've believed everything they've been told, hook, line, and sinker, as if it's gospel that the government has said about COVID. Like where there was distrust before, but like most people now have like, But I'm going to throw in the whole mafia thing. I know a few businesses that said, no, we're staying open. Mm-hmm. And within, the first 2-3 weeks, the city was in there saying, close your fucking doors right now, or we're going to give you a $5,000 fine and close you permanently. Yeah. So there is many businesses. I think there's many listeners right now that are saying, no, I never even trusted them or believed them, but it was kind of forced upon this too. Yeah. No, there's definitely, and thank God for them. And I know that was a Texas barber lady. That was the one story that everybody. There was a bunch of them. Yeah, and I know people here in LA right now, Glendale, Hollywood, and they were smoke shops, restaurants. They're like, "Fuck no, I'm staying open." Good, but they were shut down by the city, saying we're gonna fucking fine you and permanently take away your licenses and everything else. But those are also business people. They're entrepreneurs. They're small business owners. They're not going to be as likely. Affected. Yeah, they're affected more than anybody else. They risk their whole savings and life, everything. And so, if anyone's going to take a stand and be more skeptical up front, it's going to be them. That's a true point. The vast majority of people, who are employed, by a big company or are just an employee somewhere else, have just kind of accepted this as if like unquestioning, like, oh no, the government has our best interests and this is real and like all of this is necessary and we must shut down and collapse the global economy for a virus that as of now is no worse than the seasonal flu mortality rate. And we know this even with the padding of numbers. We know this, that, the scary thing that has been going on is that YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, all of them have come forward and been like, we are censoring anything that we say goes against our guidelines, our company guidelines, or our conduct guidelines, or whatever they're calling them. And with that, they have taken down, and I can't tell you, Robert, how many videos I have been sent, or I have sent other people that have been with doctors and scientists or people that have been essentially presenting information and facts that contradict the narrative that's been forced down our throat by the government and the mainstream media. And they've been sent essentially everything we're doing is absolutely wrong. Like we should not be. The very fact that we're quarantining is actually making this worse. My brother is the founder of 4 biotech companies. He specializes in immunology and gene therapy. And hold on. I just wanted, because it's just crossed my mind. So you think the whole thing is fake, or it's blown out of proportion? No, our reaction to it, to this virus. So your issue is our current reaction, more than the actual of what's happening. Well, the shutdown, right? The virus. So your issue, just to clarify, your issue right now is the shutdown more than anything else. It's not that the virus is man-made. It's not that it was biointelligence. It wasn't the government.
And the only reason that's why I just want to clarify, you know, what's the point? So you're more upset that we're being forced against our constitutional right, by the way,
100%,
you know, to stay at home, you know, don't go out, stay 6 feet away, wear a mask, wear gloves, spray alcohol. You're concentrating at this moment more about the shutdown.
Well, because that
the
is
reaction for the whole thing.
Because that's the most undisputable.
Right. Well, that's what's affecting everybody.
And that's what's affecting everybody. And that is what desperately needs to change immediately for the sake of everybody.
Right.
But I mean, no, I don't agree that it's not novel. And there's been enough information that's come out also by scientists who've been silenced that have said there's no way this is a novel virus. Like this didn't occur in nature. It didn't.
You don't believe it was the wet markets and the chicken shitting in the bat's mouth? And yeah,
no. I mean,
I don't either. No, I mean, even my mother was telling me, Robert, they've been doing that for over 500 years, 1,000 years. That's not. Yeah, that's not the issue.
This isn't the issue. And I mean, there's so much interesting things that were going on, as I'm sure you've heard. That one of their biggest biolabs in Wuhan, or one of the biggest biolabs in China is in Wuhan. The World Military Games were happening exactly at the same time when this was released. So you had the 17th annual, I believe, World Military Games that prior to this were only held on military bases. And this was the first time they did it publicly, and it happened to be in Wuhan, China. First off, who the hell ever heard of Wuhan, China before?
No, nobody. Until this, nobody.
Nobody. But for some reason.
But that's a good place to keep a fucking secret laboratory, vial,
100%.
Technology, weapons, etc.
100%. It's all too...
I mean, my fucking problem is it's worldwide.
Yeah.
Italy, this shit's real. Mm-hmm. New York, it's real. Spain, it's real. France, I mean, it's fucking taking and demolishing people's lives.
It's a very interesting virus in that those that it affects, it fucks like bad. I mean, if you have, I think one of the biggest takeaways from this, what this virus is highlighting, is the major health issues we have globally. Because of diet, because of the things we're being fed. I mean, that's one of the biggest causes in Italy. They're talking about this. Also, is a vastly elderly population there.
That too.
And so, I mean, the same thing. The mortality rate of people who've died from this are old. But they love to parade around the anomalies of the one teenager whatever who died. Like they will take that story and shove it down your throat and highlight it. Yeah, of course. There are people who do cocaine once and die. Yeah. Their heart stops. Yeah. There are people, but there's millions of people who do cocaine all the time and nothing happens. But that person didn't know they had an issue. Do you do cocaine?
No, I'm kidding.
I don't even know. I can't even spell cocaine, man. I don't even know what that is. But it's one of those things that that story is the one the media is going to take.
Right.
It's like when ephedrine got banned, if you remember that, 20 years ago, ephedrine was the best thing ever. We take it all the time before football practice and wrestling and stuff. You could buy these yellow jacket pills at gas stations. This shit was like crack. It would jack you up. Then some overweight linemen in the dirty South were doing wind sprints on a 170-degree day and overdosed on it and died. And then they're like, ephedrine, ban it. It's terrible. And it's that. They're highlighting the story that is going to essentially back up their agenda. What they're trying to push.
I get that part.
But the facts are with this, and this is what I've been told and what I've read, and people have come forward and said. But is that within this the recent stimulus bill is that because of the shutdowns going on within the hospitals, because like we were talking about beforehand, they're overloaded, or they're not overloaded. They can't afford to pay their doctors. They're sending doctors home. I know somebody who is a nanny for one, babysits for a single doctor. And she's like, I can't use your help anymore because they cut my hours back. And so, they're closing down wings of the hospital. I don't know what to do. And that was in Santa Monica Hospital. I've been to the ER, like I said, in Marina Del Rey 4 times. They had the overload tent set up outside for all the overload, put the big ship in the harbor, it's Armageddon.
Yeah.
Empty. Completely empty. Now, if this was a pandemic, then if this truly was a threat, and as bad as people say, as they're trying to make it out to be, these places would be completely overrun.
If just playing devil's advocate,
play away.
If they didn't do the closure and the quarantine and everything else, it probably would be worse. Wouldn't it?
Look at Switzerland.
Yeah, I heard what they're doing. Everything's open, huh?
Everything's been open.
Yeah.
Same mortality rate. Nobody's
same percentages. Yeah, that's always such a good point.
Yeah.
There's always that one fucking country that does whatever the fuck
Thank
they want.
God. They're always the neutral guys. And thank God. Thank God somebody had the balls to do it. Because, I'm sure some major powers that be, a part of a global elite, were upset about that. But it's the numbers don't back it up. And so within this bill, from what I've heard, part of this stimulus is they have incentivized doctors to code everything COVID. I think they get paid $8,000. Don't quote me on this. I think they get paid $8,000 for a diagnosis of COVID.
I've heard this, yeah.
They get paid $24,000 for putting you on a ventilator for 5 minutes. So it takes 5 minutes, look at $24,000. And then some other obscene amount for counting a death as COVID.
That's sick. I have heard, I didn't hear the numbers, but I have heard that obviously you have no patients, you have no anybody coming in.
You don't have a choice.
You don't have a choice.
Yeah, you don't have a choice. And so that's deliberate. So they've instilled this fear. They've completely shut down the economy and have bankrupted hospitals, like putting them in terrible situations. And then they present them with an incentive.
Countries.
Yeah, countries, exactly. But like within the medical system, and then presented them with a way out. And that way out reinforces their narrative. It's going to pad their numbers. It's going to allow them to perpetuate this fear that like this virus is bad. It is killing people. But even with numbers that we know are fraudulent, that are padded, even with that, like they're not even necessarily lying about the numbers. I mean, we know these numbers are inaccurate. The ones that they're giving us, they're not right. But even if they were, based on that percentage of mortality rate, it's still the seasonal flu average, because they're telling you like, well, we've only been able to test this many people with COVID. And of course, now our COVID tests are really unreliable. So we don't know. And we know that the numbers are far greater than this of people who actually have COVID. Like, so all that means is by them admitting that like far more people have COVID is that percentage, the mortality rate goes down.
Right.
And so they're not lying to you. They're giving you the facts, but they're framing it in this way that make you think it's doom and gloom.
And just to give an example to people, because this is one of the things that I read, saying the exact same thing that you're saying. There can be a person that's 86 years old with weak heart condition that has, a flu and, and test positive for COVID. And he dies, and it's like, well, where do you
draw that line?
Where do you draw that line? Was it old age? Was it the flu? Was it the fever? Was it just bad heart? Or was it COVID-19? And they're defaulting those to COVID-19, and that's a huge problem. Okay, so then where does this? What's the agenda? Why fucking close the world economy? Why fuck up government? Why fuck up stocks? Why? And I'm asking, not because you know the answer, but you've done enough research to have your opinion, and maybe you do have the answer. Why? What are they trying to do?
Well, this actually full circle back to where conspiracy theories come from. We know this is bullshit. There's enough information out there that we know COVID is a joke. Like it's a real virus, sure. But the reaction to it, the things we're being told are not true. They're not accurate. So we know we're being lied to.
It's being exaggerated for the sake of conversation.
Yeah, for the sake of it being exaggerated. Why?
Extremely exaggerated.
The why is where the conspiracy theory is going to come in. So this will pertain to UFOs. This will pertain to anything that we might dive into later.
You said UFO twice.
We'll get there.
Okay. I'm curious now.
We'll get there. But these things come about where they have a conspiracy theory is when there is enough evidence and enough facts that something is not right, or that something exists or doesn't exist, or whatever it is. And it is being kept secret. The reason for it being kept secret then initiates the conspiracy theory. The why. We know this is true. We know this is happening, but yet the government's lying about it. Why? Then the conspiracy theories come like that. But it's not,
but let me ask you the first conspiracy theory that comes to mind. Bill Gates vaccines. Did you hear what the new COVID-19 stands for?
Mm-hmm.
Certificate of the COVID, certificate of vaccination, ID, AI in numbers. I'm sorry, 19 in numbers is AI. So it's certificate of vaccination, ID, AI. And then there's a whole Bill Gates, and there's the whole website, ID2020.com, backed up by Rockefeller, Bill Gates, Microsoft Foundation, and many more.
Yep.
Do you think that's the conclusion? The conclusion is, and another thing that freaks me out is how much money the government's paying businesses, unemployment, You know, they're paying out everybody. And now I think California just pulled out trillions, or the country pulled out trillions to pay more. And I'm thinking, fuck, if they're paying people, this is not going to end anytime soon. This is gonna last a long fucking time.
Well,
so those are the two things. But
one of the things to that really quick, and then I'll answer your question, is one of the things I had a deep conversation with my brother about this, and wanted to get his take on this, given his background and the fact that he deals with this. And he created a vaccine for COVID and presented it to DARPA 3 weeks ago, vaccine for it. And their response to him at that time was, we don't have money for this.
Yeah, that's a response many people are saying. They don't have money for this.
Weird.
Which is very weird.
Very weird.
With the trillions being spent.
Yeah, very weird.
But I also did hear, regardless of whoever has a vaccine, the process of testing it on humans and the amount of humans they got to test and the time that takes, it would still take months before they'll give it to the masses.
Yeah, it's billions of dollars, but that kind of goes to the point. So why would they say no, or why would they say they don't have money? It's one of two reasons. It's one is that they know it's bullshit. Therefore, why would we invest hundreds of billions of dollars to create a vaccine, go through human trials, appease the FDA, go through all those loopholes that they have to, and then create 330 million of them to give out to people? That is a massive, massive undertaking when they know that in reality, it is not a dangerous virus. It's not a civilization. It's not the Black Plague. Okay.
Or Spanish flu.
Yeah. Spanish flu. It's not that. And they know that. And so so that's one reason why they're saying no. Or the other reason is that they don't want it to get better, because this is going to be what they're going to be using for the next 30 months to strip away our freedoms and basically restructure the government, restructure the United States, the Constitution.
Is that an estimate, or is that a source? 30 months.
So my brother said that at the rate we're going, which is the main issue, he crunched the numbers. The issue with the whole quarantine thing is that we will not reach herd immunity with this virus for 30 to 60 months because of this quarantine. Versus if we didn't quarantine, then everybody would get it. And we know that 80% of people are not symptomatic, or whatever the number is, something crazy like that, that the vast majority of people aren't. The smart thing to do with anybody who has a brain when they saw this virus coming through would have been to quarantine the people who are at risk. If you have autoimmune disease, if you are elderly, those people, quarantine, stay at home. But for the rest of the world that the freaking economy depends on, you go to work, keep the economy going. This is a very important thing, but they didn't. They didn't do that. And we supposedly have some of the most brilliant minds running this government, and that was the conclusion they came to. Once again, something doesn't add up. You ask yourself that, okay, well, then there clearly is some other agenda at play here. So the two options that, I think are responsible for this, or I guess, the conspiracy theories, if you will. One of them that I've heard is, goes into essentially this desperate attempt for the one world government, one world power, one world currency, cashless society. This has been what the ruling elites, and I'm not talking about, the presidency or anything, the people that run the world, the true people that run the world, the 100 families, the ones that get the nicknames of, the Illuminati and, whatever else. I hate even using those names, even though they're real. But just once again, the stigma that goes along with it, and instantly people are like, oh yeah, conspiracy theory.
Yeah,
but it's not.
Crazy.
But it's not.
Yeah.
It's not. The Trilateral Commission.
But quick question: I want you to continue on this. But how many conspiracy theorists that exist in the world that load up weapons and guns, the end of the world? How many of them are excited right now? Like, oh, I knew something was happening.
Oh, I'm sure there are many people who are throwing out "I told you so"s left and right. Yeah,
please. Sorry, I just had
no. I'm sure it's literally like a wet dream for them. They're
a fucking wet dream. It's a reality. I've been waiting for this my whole fucking life.
MRIs,
I told you. Fucking eating
microwave. I tell you, man, you call me crazy. It's so one thing I've heard is that it's the attempt at that. It is the attempt to essentially, how are you going to instill one world government when there's such inequality throughout the world? When you have incredibly powerful nations like the United States, and you have this divide economically, throughout the world, through military power, through the value of currency, GDP, everything else.
Education,
everything.
Background, race.
How can you possibly then be like, all right, we're going to create one world government, one centralized system of control, and one centralized currency when there's that much inequality? Well, you collapse it all at once, which is exactly what's happened. Like How else? I mean, when else? It's unprecedented. Have you seen that there is a full, complete shutdown
but what
of the
about
global economy?
What about Switzerland?
Well, that's what I'm saying. They're an anomaly.
What about China? China's back on track, they said, right? Isn't everything open and everything?
So yes, like I said, this is one of the.
And again,
theories.
I'm just gonna.
Yeah,
I'm
no. This isn't one that I necessarily think is fully true, though. I know that there has been many people whose sole effort has been, at the top is to create one world power.
Right.
And if you have one world government, one world currency, and then a cashless society, you have full control. And because if there's no more cash, then you are chipped, essentially. Then everything is digital money that doesn't mean shit, which we already know. Like the value of money is nothing. It's not backed by anything.
Right.
And so
it's a promise.
Yeah, it's a promise. You would have, if you go from a cashless society, you are completely at the mercy of those in power. If you ever step out of line, you're ever not a good little soldier and you don't obey what is sold. Yeah, you can't go shopping. You can't buy money.
They can even do that with cash in a sense. It's already happening with cash. It's already happening with cash. I've been dealing with people that work in the cash business, the cultivation, marijuana industry. And I know a lot of these guys that are dealing with cash and they have cash. They can't pay their credit cards because if they deposit their money into their account, it's a flag. I mean, you could do it one month. Yeah. The second month, but if you do it the third month, what's going on? Where's it coming from?
Yeah.
So they can't pay a credit card. They can't put a down payment. They can't put this because anything, even if it's close to 10,000, that's it. You get flagged.
The bank has to flag it. Yeah.
Right. And it's a legal business, legal operation. Some traditional stuff going on the sides, but cash almost has no value. You're like it sucks.
It used to be king. It's not king.
Not at all.
Yeah. And once again, because that is by design.
Right.
And at the beginning of the COVID thing, there's a number of news reports going around about how money, cash, like all these businesses like started putting up signs to say, we will not accept cash because cash was the number one transmitter of viruses. And so if you're passing cash,
watch out. What about cryptocurrency?
I mean, the safest thing
it's the safest thing in the world, but they can't control that, right?
They can't control it, so they don't like it.
Okay, but now they get rid of the cash, and now we all switch to cryptocurrencies. Are we? Did we fucking haha? You see, that doesn't make sense either.
Who knows, man? I mean,
nobody knows.
Yeah, nobody knows.
You don't know. I don't know. We're just two regular guys.
It's interesting. I mean, there's a lot of speculation out there. There's a lot of theories on these things where this is going.
Who would want this one world power? Is this something that a bunch of countries said, "Hey, let's do one world power"?
No, this is what
is this like the China.
This is centralized banks. These are the families that control the Rothschilds, the Morgans, the people that run the world, that truly like own everything. I tell people this all the time because it is still shocking to me that, and I must admit I didn't know it either, but the Federal Reserve is not federal.
Right.
The Federal Reserve is 12 private banks.
Yeah, it's private.
And this was set up in the 1920s. And when that happened, immediately after, and this is what our forefathers in this country fought for, was to not have centralized banking. The Europeans, the Rothschilds, the people that controlled all the banks over there desperately wanted this. They tried to infiltrate our country with this forever. They tried time and time again and couldn't. And it was Roosevelt, I can't remember who was president in the 1920s.
It was early 20s.
Yeah.
And
he was the one that did it. Yep. And when that happened, these 12 private banks took over created the Federal Reserve, and they're the ones that dictate the value of money.
And that's the name, the Federal Reserve. It's just the name.
Deliberately so. Like completely misleading.
And they control how much they print out, what doesn't get printed out, the value of money at the current.
And what happened right after? What happened after the Federal Reserve was created? The Great Depression.
Yeah.
Immediately after. And what was the Great Depression? It was their last grab at power. So we instituted this centralized banks.
But I mean, that was like 2018. I'm sorry, 1919 when they started the prohibition. Which I get was at that same time.
It's all the same time. Like
right,
what these
right. It was all the same time, but the prohibition was one of the main causes for the Great Depression as well.
One of the things, yes, they said. But in reality, what happened was you had the centralized banking institution that was now set up. And what they did, because then you had, the equivalent of like the private banks, your credit unions, if you will, back then that existed, and they had to get rid of them. And so they essentially, because they owned the press as well, they put out these, articles in the paper that were like, the banks aren't going to be able to back your money. Like they're not going to be able to pay out like, the money that you have, like go get your money. And there was this run on money where then everybody, you can see all the pictures of this and videos of people lined up outside of the banks, trying to go in there.
I always remember that one scene in Mary Poppins.
Yeah.
Remember just like, oh, we don't have money to cash you out.
Yep. That was what happened. And what did that do? That led to the collapse of every private bank, all in that single moment. And what else did they do? They crashed the stock market. And what did they do when all this was happening? Yeah. They bought all of them for pennies on the dollar.
Yeah, some of the greatest millionaires were made during the Great Depression.
Yep. And they were all the same people that owned those banks. And so they bought up the private banks that they collapsed, and same with the big companies that they collapsed in the stock market. Well, everybody else was jumping out of windows. They were raking it in. And at that very moment in history, the course of our country and the world, everything changed forever. And the power structure changed.
Let's say that's the case. And let's say history repeats. The reason that happened back then in the 1920s was because they wanted to control the Federal Reserve and they wanted to launch that. What's the closest thing we can come up with right now that they would gain from that? It's that one world power, I guess.
Yeah, it's all a grab for power and control. I mean, it's in our instinct. It's in our DNA, like as humans.
But how would that break down? I mean, individual militaries, individual governments, individual laws. Like, I mean, there's just so much. So, and one more thing I want to bring up, just to get your opinion. I have heard the option of, like the Romans. When the Romans were running around, they were one of the greatest powers in the world. Nobody ever thought that the Romans would come to an end.
No. Same
thing with the Great Khan. Same thing with the Persian Empire. Yeah. But they went down.
They all fell.
U.S. this is America. Nobody's gonna fuck around with America. But hypothetically, if the economy crashes, the military crashes, there's anarchy, this is a good, because I heard China's doing it to Italy right now, where they're just buying properties up and investing into Italy. Imagine, in another world, the worst case scenario, they take over the U.S.
That's not a far-fetched.
It's not far-fetched.
It's not at all.
No, and to me,
they already own some of the biggest real estate in our country right now. The Sears Tower. They own everything.
They own a lot.
Yeah.
Especially right now, cash. Mm-hmm. And they have more money to back it up. Yeah. So that's another one. So between one world power and China taking over as many things as possible, what do you think is more realistic? Is it still one world power, or is that the definition of one world power?
Well, I mean, they're not necessarily separate. And so this is what people need to understand in our country, who, whether they're on the right or the left, and they think they have a voice or their vote matters. It doesn't. It never has. It doesn't matter who you put in office. Nothing changes. They make you fight over social issues. That's it. Inconsequential social issues. And I don't say that to demean the value of the issue, but ultimately inconsequential in the scheme of the genocide we're causing in other countries, creating groups like ISIS, invading other countries for oil, like the horrific things that America has done, has not changed no matter who was in office. They all campaign on this, but Obama, who said he's going to take all the troops out of the Middle East, the Bush pit there, when he left office, he had more troops there than Bush did.
Yeah,
because
more drone attacks than anybody else.
100%,
and did not forgive the whistleblowers.
No. Because those interests didn't change. But they get you to fight. They get everyone in this country. Division. That is all they preach. That is all the media is. Every single thing that you see is meant to divide, whether it's race, whether it's religion, whether it's sexual orientation.
Whether it's family.
Yeah, family.
Even the Clintons were the big ones in the 90s. They started all the jail. They privatized jails in the 90s.
Yes.
And they were the ones, which is super fucking crazy.
Super crazy.
And they were the number one people promoting, hey, violence, call the police on your husband, on your wife, on, separate it. We'll take care of you, we'll pay you Section 8, blah, blah, blah. We'll give you whatever it takes so you can maintain and not be afraid of losing this abusive guy or alcohol guy or somebody you had a difference with. And then they put this guy in jail, and that's a business, and how many people you keep in jail is part of the business.
Yeah.
Because you got to hit a minimum requirement to get funding from the government.
Yeah. Except for now, they're just releasing them all in California.
Did you hear what they're doing?
Yeah, well, I know they've been releasing some of the worst rapists and sex offenders.
But do you know how they've been doing that, supposedly? they're getting rid of people that test positive for COVID-19.
Oh yeah. So they're all swapping spit. I heard that.
They're spitting in cups, passing it to each other, drinking it, and they're letting out rapists. They're letting out thieves. They're letting out fucking. I mean, it's insane.
And yet, Joe Blow, upstanding citizen, law-abiding citizen, walks down the street without a mask. It's $1,000 fine, and if he resists, he's going to jail.
It's so fucking crazy.
Super.
Those are the things that throw me off. Those are the things. I forgot. I was listening to somebody talk about, how police act. And again, I have big respect for most police officers. I mean, there's shitty people in every fucking category in every job, but they were talking about it's fucked up. Like on Forest Lawn, on the exit right off the 134. When you get off onto Forest Lawn, there's a bunch of Hispanics. There's a bunch of people illegally selling flowers. Right before you get to it. Yeah. Police pass by them, no problem. Don't say nothing. Don't question anything. Not a big deal. But then you go down the road and they pulled over a Mercedes ML, and there's this woman driving, and they're giving her a ticket for $500, $600, and it's like, it's the agenda. It's all money. It's all business.
Yeah, sorry, man. I totally digressed on the point in the question that you initially asked.
Let's bring it back.
Well, you said the world, is it the one world power or is it China? So the point I was getting at by the very fact that people don't have a vote, like the very fact that this two-party system, first off, is laughable, that you could possibly put all the viewpoints of 330 million people into two categories is hilarious, because half the country is one way and the other half is the other way. No, I feel like 80% of the country is rational thinking, and they're probably more middle of the road. You have the extreme fringes on both sides that essentially make up, I guess the cannon fodder for what, the media chooses to pick out, what they divide us on, basically.
Right.
And so everyone thinks that they have a voice. And so they make you battle over these social issues. Well, the real issues never change. And those real issues are the issues that are controlled by big oil, big banks, big pharma, big agriculture, all the things that are influencing our health, war, all the major things going on around the world. Those things never change. But they're going to get you to vote for a candidate based on a woman's right to choose or gay marriage or something like that. And then when you put that person in office, you're going to be like, that was me and my vote mattered and blah, blah, even though nothing changes.
At all.
Nothing changes at all, because that one world power controls everything. And it doesn't matter who takes office. If they're right or left, it doesn't matter. They are faced with the same reality. Hence Obama coming in, dark haired and leaving completely gray within like the first 4 years of his presidency, is that there is that reality of who really controls things. And if you go against them, you are dead. And that is JFK. That is Ronald Reagan did in many ways.
So
and he was shot.
You think that JFK was the one world power?
JFK was,
because there's the mafia, there's the Castro, there's the communism, there's the CIA.
There was the UFO aspect of it, everything with the moon.
I don't know that's the third reference. Oh yeah, the moon, that makes sense. That was roughly when we were closing. You think giants live on the moon?
Giants?
Yeah, there's been rumors that giants live on the moon.
I don't know about giants.
Yeah, because they said the first country that lands to the moon would control the world, because they could put weapons there, and by putting weapons there, they can launch them at any time. But supposedly, when they got there, they found that there was giants or living creatures on the dark side.
There were beings there, yeah,
on the moon.
Sure, you can hear that in the audio recordings, the original ones of.
I've actually seen videos of it. Yeah, it's fucking weird,
fucking crazy.
I don't know if I believe it, but I saw it. Yeah. It just depends on those productions.
Well,
you think it's the moon conspiracy? Well, not the moon conspiracy.
No. I mean, it was.
What was the JFK assassination?
JFK was. I mean, he wasn't playing ball with the whole Cuba Missile Crisis. He was sticking his nose into things within Area 51, within the deep black government things going on there, our reverse engineering things. There are a number of reasons why JFK got whacked.
Right. But there was the Russian, the communism, the Cuba, CIA, and mafia.
He was not abiding by the rules.
By their
rules of those that really run things. Yeah. And he was taken out. And I mean, that's it, cut and dry. Pick one of the things that he wasn't doing that, was towing the line of what they wanted. It doesn't matter. The point is, he was whacked for standing up against essentially the power that was ruling in secret. and wanting to bring things to light to the American public that they did not want brought to light. But back to the so because of that, when you say, is it China or is it one world government? They're intertwined. Like the same people that own America own China. It's not like the banking institutions, like those people at the very top control like 90% of the world's wealth. Like it's ridiculous, like 100 families or something like that, like control that much of the world's wealth. That is an insane amount of influence in a small, tiny group of people.
Understood. But if the same amount of people that control the world work China, work USA, blah, 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 then there's really no interest for China to take over, USA to take over, right?
Well,
it's all the same.
Well, but they're not. I mean, they're not always in. I mean, when you say one world power, like the people that rule in secret, it's not like they're all friends. They're not like if one wins, they don't all win.
That's what I wanted to hear.
Yeah, no, like
that's how I visualize it.
Yeah, no,
it's 100 families roughly
something like that,
in the world that rule the world.
They control they control literally like 90% of the world's money. Like that's insane. That is fucking crazy. If you just let that sink in for a second, that is insane.
And these people have nothing to do with being the 1%ers or anything else.
They're the 1% of the 1%.
Yeah.
They are the 1% of the 1%. And you don't hear about them. That is how powerful they are. If you heard about them, they wouldn't be able to get away with what they get away with. But they own so many companies. They own under shell corporations. Like there's a book that you should read called Rule by Secrecy by Jim Marrs, which will blow your mind. And it basically chronicles the secret societies over the past like 2,000, 3,000, 5,000 years since their origin, all of them.
Yeah.
Trilateral Commission, Skull and Bones, Council of Foreign Relations, Knights of the Templar, you name it, all of them. They're all real. Like, these aren't fake things. They're not like, this isn't conspiracy. These are real
facts.
Yeah, facts. The Freemasons, this isn't, granted, very few, the Masons turned into almost like a religion in that regard. And there's so many of these low level ones that they don't know shit. Like, they don't know anything what's going on. But the few at the very, very top, whatever they go by a degree system. I can't remember, 33 degree, Freemason, or my grandpa was I don't know what it means, but I did read about it, what it meant, but I've already forgotten. But very few of them actually know what's going on as well. But this book outlines in detail, with names, with dates, with figures, with facts, like all of this, all of these people, like, and the ties and how long it's been going on and what their hands are in, what companies they own. And like, it's mind blowing. It's eye opening because it's so far beyond what we think is possible that most people just discount it. Like as like it seems like it's something out of like a freaking suspense thriller or like some graphic, like a novel or something, like where you don't believe it's real, but it is real. There's an embarrassment of proof out there about it, but it's not going to be in the mainstream because they control that.
They own it.
Like 5 families own all like 98% of media that you consume. That's crazy. The narrative is completely controlled. And so people think then like you're trained. This is a deliberate thing. This goes with, everything from COVID to UFOs to psychedelics to, even the conspiracy stuff, or the secret society stuff, is that you are trained to, when you hear those things, instantly be like, oh, that's crazy. That's conspiracy, blah, blah, blah. To the point that if you do the research and you look into this and you realize, holy crap, there's actually a lot of proof out there. There's a lot of information, and this is kind of crazy. And then you go down this rabbit hole. You are then afraid to talk about it because you fear the repercussion from your peers.
Right.
Like if it was just the government being like, that's wrong, or you like, fuck the government, you don't care. But if it's your family, if it's your friends, if it's your circle of influence, the people that you care about, you care what they think. You're not going to be as inclined to go out and say this stuff. Like, because you're afraid of judgment. You're afraid of, standing out, being a pariah, being like, it's that is an
individual.
Yeah. And that is, this goes all the way back to, Operation Paperclip, when we took, 1,600 to, now the number is up to 48,000 of Hitler's top scientists. And we brought them over here.
That's how NASA was made.
Yeah, exactly. And the CIA and the DOD and the NSA, all of them. None of those existed pre-World War II.
Right.
And, we took his top propagandists And that person was the one that essentially was like, this is how you control the masses. This is how you suppress information.
Wasn't there, I'm just trying to remember Operation Paperclip. Wasn't there also, I don't even know if this was part of Paperclip, but weren't like a lot of the cars that Hitler was driving, weren't they like GM? Wasn't GM making the motors?
Probably.
Yeah, it was like a whole connected fucking.
Oh yeah, no, we definitely were selling. Yeah, 100%. Like the military-industrial complex, 100%. We were sourcing or creating ammunition and vehicles and selling them to the enemy. The Rothschilds in particular. And there's speculation. I've heard a number of things.
Imagine they shut off this podcast. Like, oh, they said too much. Yeah, disconnect the cable.
Once again, they know people aren't going to believe most of this, so it's not a threat.
Yeah.
Like, they would never do that. They would just discredit you. It's always smear. It's a smear campaign. It's way easier to discredit anybody, or a Julian Assange type thing where you just trump up a charge about him date raping some underage chick or whatever the hell they have him for, because he's a threat. And so they know if they kill him, that's going to validate everything he said. The people are going to be like, see, he was telling the truth, like they killed him.
Right.
No, they're going to smear you. They're going to make
Sorry, I have to ask. I know it's random. Epstein, dead or alive?
Dead.
I heard he's fucking in Argentina just partying it up or something.
I
heard they secretly, like, they pretend to, get him out, but...
Oh, really? I haven't heard that one.
That's a conspiracy thinking.
The conspiracy was that he was murdered, and
right by the Clintons, and blah blah. But no. The new one is.
I haven't heard that one.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
They just faked it.
That me?
Is that your watch? It's kind of rude.
Sorry about that. It's telling me to breathe.
That's important.
That's nice.
Nice.
I feel a lot better.
Yeah. So your conclusion for COVID. Please.
So the one world government, that's one of the theories. The most credible one that I have researched.
So you haven't said anything about the vaccination.
Well,
that's part of the one world.
But that's also, that's so abundantly clear. Like,
so for sure that's part of it. Chip that people track. That's how you pay. That's how you get paid. That's how you see your background. That's your ID.
Yes, but that feeds into. So there was a document released. I don't know if I have it on my phone still.
Pull that shit up.
I read this type of stuff. Damn, I don't know if I saved it. Who did I send it to? Oh, I think I have it on Instagram.
He's looking through his phone. For those who are not watching video.
So it's the I know what is he doing?
But actually, we're doing video for the first time.
Are you sleeping over there, buddy? Oh, are you? Looks like he's catching some shut eye. I'm gonna have it. I have it in here. So it was a report that was released by the. I'm on airplane mode. There we go. By the Center for Artificial Intelligence Committee. It was something along those lines. So a big committee that was put forth, I believe, by one of the founders of Google and a number of other higher ups in the world. Like, we're talking to some of the most powerful people. So they put together essentially this recommendations, essentially, of what the government needs to do to be competitive with artificial intelligence. And so I'll try and pull it up on here. We can post about it when you post this.
We'll send links or something.
But it was declassified through FOIA, so the Freedom of Information Act. So this is the type of shit I read, Robert. Like, I will read declassified documents. So whenever we dive into the UFO stuff, I have done 10 years of research into the shit.
You've done the WikiLeaks?
Dude.
All of it.
So much.
Yeah.
Like, because people don't. People they get their talking points from the news and they believe, like, they'll maybe watch a documentary once and be like, I'm a fucking expert now. No, you're not. Like, I've read this shit. I've gone to these places. I've been to Area 51. I have seen these things and experienced it myself, in addition to doing the research, because I wanted to know, because I didn't want to be a lemming. I didn't want to be a sheep anymore. I knew there was something bigger going on and I had to find out. And because of the way I was raised and, how freakishly genius my older brother is, I knew that anything less than doing that, he would never take seriously, because I knew if there's one person I'd have to convince of this, it would be him, and it would have to be airtight.
But is it super frustrating that you find out all this information and you believe this information because you've seen this information, but the rest of the world is kind of like walking away or not paying attention while it's happening? Yes. I mean, how do you live with that? And I would guess that most people wouldn't want meditation. That's a great answer.
Yeah. I mean, you
meditate a lot?
I do. I learned long ago, through a number of just life experiences. I've had a pretty fucked up life in many regards, which is, why I think I'm good at acting and my craft is I have places to pull from. Yeah. Would never trade any of them for the world because they made me who I am. But I learned long ago to learn to separate the things that are in your control, the things that are out, and the things that are out of your control, let them go, and focus only on what you can control in life. The things that, your immediate circle of influence, the things that, you have the power to change right now.
So you're about the present moment.
Yeah. But also, in manifestation, because your thoughts produce reality, and that's just proven. You can do examples of it in your daily life. And you are a result of everything you've ever thought you would be, for better or worse, And so it's just, people get discouraged because they'll try to change a habit or a thought. And they might, get a self-help book and start reading it. And then they get that rah, like, oh man, like they're all fired up. And then 2 weeks, they're just like on top of the world. And then suddenly they crash.
A little curveball.
Yeah.
Yeah. They get tested.
Yep, exactly. And that testing, there's scientific and biological explanations for that testing where, it's now known and proven that, you can become biochemically addicted to thought, to peptides that like your thoughts produce. And so quitting a thought has the same withdrawals as quitting heroin. As quitting a type of drug, like any type of drug that your body becomes addicted to, you become addicted to thought patterns and things like that the exact same way. And so you can change that thought, read a book and be like, yeah, I'm great. And you're riding high. But then the body goes through withdrawals of that former way of thinking. And it creeps up as like a negative thought in your mind. You're like, you're not really this person. Yeah. Like you're kind of full of shit. Like, or someone says one thing to you that like they shit on your parade. You're like, oh man,
and it gets to you.
It gets to you.
Yeah. Because it's a person you care about, or it's a person you care about their opinions or their thoughts.
And then you never see it through.
Yeah.
You never do enough to change that reality, to manifest the new reality, because it doesn't just happen instantly. Like it's all the law of attraction. Everything is energy. And we're our consciousness, everything in the universe operates this way.
Right.
But just
everything.
because
I agree with that.
But just because you change a thought and
but you have to just for the sake of people that are listening and watching, but you have to practice it. It's not easy. If I think about this, it's going to happen. No, you have to train. You have to practice. You have to work out. Whatever the case is, you want to be strong. You have to work out. You want to be faster. You have to train. You want to be a better cook. You have to practice. You have to train towards that. It's not.
And that's where most people, they'll give up. That's the point, is that they get on that great, they ride that wave, like whatever it is that come through, that inspiration when it strikes, they're all about it. But then the first withdrawal of that former way of thinking comes in, whether it's the form of a negative comment that somebody says, or whatever it is. And then they immediately revert back to the former way of thinking. Now, based on the way the universe works, based on the way energy works, and the way of all we're meant to do is know where we want to be, is visualize the end that we want, and then be willing to let go of the path, because the path will never be what we think.
Right.
And we've already seen
we'll never be able to plan the path.
Never.
And we won't even be able to see it.
Hell no. And if it ever worked out the way we thought it should, we would have been fucked. And you can always look back and be like, man, if I would have got what I wanted back then, or if that would have went the way
I would have done it. Or if I would have known what road I was taking, I would have stopped many times.
100%.
Yeah.
But the point is that all you can do is focus on the end, because you're putting that energy out for that end goal of this is who I am. This is who I'm going to be, whether that's professionally, as a husband, a father, a friend, whatever it is. This is me. And I'm going to focus on that with all of my fucking might. And I'm not going to break that concentration and that belief that that is who I am and that is who I will be. Also thinking as if it's already happened.
Right.
And then the universe brings it to you when it's going to bring it to you. But most people can't wait that long. They think because it didn't happen, and like, oh man, I've been changing my thoughts, and I've been positive, and I've been on this new regimen for a few weeks now or a month, and the results aren't there. Well, the results aren't.
That's not how it works.
It's not how it works. It will happen.
Not only that, but it's like another example is like working out. You'll work out. Obviously, I think they say it takes 2 to 3 weeks before you feel something. It takes 6 to 8 weeks before people notice, and so on and so forth. But what people don't realize is once you get into that shape that you were able to accomplish if you were disciplined for 6 months, 8 months, 9 months, is that once you're in the shape you want to be in, you got to keep that up for 2-3 years before your body adjusts to be like, hey, this is normal.
Yep.
Otherwise, it's just a shock, and it's like you have to practice and continue practicing and then maintain when, the universe comes in and says, here you go.
Yep.
It's time.
Yeah. And that's... It's not just like, that's part of the, glad you brought that up, because that's the part that a lot of people
skip
is like the work. You got to put in the work.
Yeah.
Like you can think positive thoughts all you want, and sure, that makes a massive difference, but you also have to be willing to do the work.
To train.
Yeah,
You can't be like, I'm going to be a UFC fighter. I'm going to be a UFC fighter. You don't walk into that fucking...
You get ass whooped.
Whoop, son.
Like embarrassingly so. Like I'm not gonna show your face
on TV.
Yeah, it's gonna be very
it's gonna be
bad. Yeah, goof. But
okay. You brought up UFOs. I'm fucking interested. You 3 times. What is this UFO? Do you believe in UFOs?
Oh, 100%. I've seen them.
What's your like? You seen them?
Yeah. I went to Area 51 before this bullshit Storm Area 51 nonsense.
Seen UFOs
100%, and got them on camera.
Because my whole fucking thing is there's too many cameras, there's too many surveillance, there's too many iPhones, there's too many Androids. I haven't seen anything convincing enough.
Let me ask you this, because people always say that. How often are you looking in the sky? Never.
Yeah, most people don't.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
Yeah.
I would say most people don't.
100%. Most people, especially now, their fucking heads heads are in their phone.
But what are they doing? And would they want to visit us?
Well,
if there was?
I suppose I should. If we're going down this rabbit hole.
No, it's
Roberto. I feel like we have to start from the beginning.
I'm interested.
All right.
Because I'll tell you where I stand. I stand that if what did they say? They say there are more stars than grains of sand on Earth, but there are more atoms in a grain of sand than there are planets in the world or something, or in the galaxy or something like that. Something crazy like that.
Whenever I start this topic with anybody, I start with the pure mathematics of it.
Right. And that was my point. Yeah. Mathematically, I get that there is...
Well, mathematically,
it's impossible.
Mathematically, it's not even a probability. It is an absolute fucking certainty there is life. We're in
Except if we were the first.
No fucking way. We are... Okay, so...
Because there's always a first.
Well, yeah. So, but...
And it took us...
I'm glad you said that.
42 billion... 42? No.
14 billion.
14 billion years to get to this point, and we've only been around this species for 200,000.
So
that's what I'm saying. There's got to be a first.
Yes. So we're in a universe that is 14.7 billion years old, and our Milky Way galaxy, I believe, is 13.7 billion years old. Somewhere within that range. There's like a billion-year difference between the age of the universe and the age of the Milky Way galaxy. We are on the outskirts of the Milky Way galaxy, the outskirts of the ring, or like one of the spiral galaxy. Our planet is 5 billion years old, roughly. So we're in a galaxy that has 200 billion stars. Each star has an average of 5 to 10 exoplanets, and that's on a conservative number. I'm being the most conservative I can with this. And then each of those planets is going to have any number of moons, which could be, in the thousands or millions, depending on if, you talk about Saturn. I mean, the rings of Saturn are technically little moons. I mean, like they're
could
in
be
orbit.
Considered that, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they are. They're orbiting. They're giant balls of rock that are stuck in its orbit. Some are obviously larger than others by comparison. But
yeah, I don't know what would be the definition of a moon, but yeah, I guess that would make sense.
Yeah, that's something that's stuck in an orbit of a giant planet, basically.
Yeah.
So you have 200 billion stars, an average of 5 to 10 exoplanets, and then each of those planets is going to have any number of moons, like hundreds of moons. And a lot of the times moons are far more hospitable for life than an actual planet would be, like based on just, the Goldilocks zone and these things. But once again, that's human life. That's carbon-based life that operates and breathes the same air, CO2 and stuff that, we do, or oxygen, not CO2.
H2O.
So,
no, not H2O. It's water.
Just O2.
No, just kidding.
Yeah.
Just testing.
We're
giving away about a ride clean. You ever guess that? No.
So by the math in our galaxy alone,
mathematically, yeah,
you have 200 billion stars times, let's say 10 exoplanets. And we're not even going to times that by, the countless number of moons that could be there. Let's just times that by 10, 200 billion times 10. And then you take 0.0001% of that. That still leaves you with 2 billion planets that would have life. That's 0.000.
That would have life, or
well, no, I'm just saying,
estimating.
Even if only 0.0001% of the planets house life. I mean, astronomically small percentage, 0.0001%.
No,
in our galaxy, that would mean like 200 million, whatever it was, 200 million planets. Then you look at the universe itself, where you have the largest galaxy that we know of is TR 23b or something like that. That has sad I know that 1.3 trillion stars in one galaxy. 1.3 trillion stars times 10 times another 10. However many possibilities for that. But then they say the universe has anywhere from 200 to 500 billion galaxies, and the largest one has that we found so far has 1.3 trillion stars. The math on this is
right. Mathematically, not science, not belief. Mathematically, it'd be impossible to be the only ones.
And then you look at our planet, which is only 5 billion years old, out of a universe that's 14 billion years old. That means there are planets that have evolved for 9 billion years longer than us. Planets that have 9 billion years more life of evolution. And once again, this opens up a whole other topic of conversation about the age of our race on this planet. Like, we continue to learn more and more. Now we're finding dug up fossils of humans, not like, Cro-Magnon or, Homo erectus or whatever the 5 different classifications of us, before we became human, that are over 300,000 years old that we found now.
Well, our current one is 200,000, right?
I just dug up one. I think that's like 350 or something.
Our current one?
Yeah, like that's us.
Yeah.
It's just changing all the time. Like, we're continuing to find these things.
Yeah.
And our civilization on this planet has amnesia, and there is a missing chapter in our evolution that we're unaware of. And things like the pyramids are proof of that. Like, we now know that the pyramids predate the Younger Dryas, the last ice age that was roughly 12,000 years ago. We now know this. The erosion on the rocks around the Sphinx proved this. They were eroded away by water, which in the middle of the desert there. And I was just there over the summer, as I think you know. And looking at these things, myself, like these structures of which we cannot replicate today, or if we did, would take the absolute, maximum of our engineering potential to do, like machinery, everything. It would be nearly impossible. It would be such an undertaking to recreate the pyramids that nobody would ever do it. But yet a society did now that we know that predates the last ice age, and did this with a precision where it was lined up perfectly to Orion's belt on the ley line around the globe that produces the most magnetic energy of any other line, of which things like Chichen Itza and other, massive structures around the globe also line up.
All the corners were lined up with north, south, west, east.
Laser cut precision too.
And there's no machinery today that can move any of those stones.
No, not even the stones
created.
Yeah. And let alone the laser cut precision.
Yeah, the laser cuts. Yeah.
And we now know they aren't tombs. They were power plants. There's enough proof about that too. Like, I mean,
what do you mean power plants?
So the rocks that they're made up with I think it's limestone. Don't quote me on this. I'm not an Egyptologist, but I've read a number of these books, and people like Graham Hancock, who have devoted their whole life to researching ancient civilizations, especially Egypt in particular, have talked about a lot of this. But so the stones that you see on the pyramid that look like steps going up,
right?
That's not the pyramid. There was actually flat like tiles that really went over that. The pyramids used to be a complete smooth structure. We only see the steps now because why am I blanking? The tiles, if you will, let's call them tiles. The tiles that were on the outside all, crumbled and eroded away throughout, the past 12,000 years. One of them was white, one of them was red, and one of them was black. Those are the original colors of the pyramids. And we know this now.
Red, white,
and black.
Mm-hmm.
And you can find some of these tiles. They're still there.
Sorry, what's it? Okay, the source is there are still some there. There are those
Yeah. You can tell by the colors of the stones and things like that. Like what these originally
just to give people an idea, the pyramids were assumed to be created when? What year?
I think 3,000 BC. I think 5,000 BC maybe. No, they're not that. I mean, the age of them is within 5,000, 6,000 years is what they're saying. But in reality, the Egyptians merely just claimed them as their own. They didn't create them. It wasn't them that did it. But anyway, so that stone that's underneath that you see making the step formation is one of the most conductive stones on the planet for electricity. The one that was on top, the tiles, were one of the most non-conductive, so insulating stones that there were. On the inside, when you go in there, there are a couple pyramids that are tombs that are not at Giza, but like elsewhere that look completely different that are actually tombs. These aren't. You go inside them and you don't feel like you should be there. You feel like if I was here when this thing was like active or at its time, I would be dead. Like I would be nuked by something inside here.
That's the energy vibe you got from it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's just like, but there's nothing in it. There's like a lever that goes under. So
what do you mean a lever? Like
there's like a stone structure and things that look like where there used to be like a crank or like a lever mechanism on the insides of these things. The Nile used to be right up against it, and now the Nile has migrated something like 60 kilometers away. So the whole riverbed of the Nile runs right along the pyramids, which is insane. So the Nile, you have to also, if you can think about how old the pyramids are, the Nile had enough time to migrate 60 kilometers, 30 kilometers, whatever it is, far fucking away, far away. But it used to be right up next to it. And so underneath it, there used to be aqueducts. So you'd have this water that would travel underneath the pyramids, and so have this hydroelectric force that was operating as well, along with it being on the ley lines of this natural magnetic current of the planet, and aligned with Orion and all these other things that it's believed that they were these massive power structures that could be seen from over 100 kilometers away that would light up, like that would be literally lit and like radiating like
but what were they powering?
The city, like things around them. Like it's just like an energy source. They might not have been powering anything. I have no idea. I have no idea. But that is, so we already know that there's things like the Baghdad battery. If you've heard of this.
No, I haven't.
This was dug up, I don't know, a few years back, and is like 5,000, 6,000 years old. A battery that was found that we replicated. That's found in Baghdad, so they call it the Baghdad battery. And we recreated it to see if it actually worked. And this thing produces electricity, which proves that there was like street lamps that were powered back then. Like there was actual giant batteries that these civilizations that were supposedly like not far off from hunter-gatherer, like knuckle dragging, like, unevolved people possessed a technology that like we think was just invented 300 years ago.
But do we have any, to power a city, you need wiring, cables, you need positive, negatives, it's more complex than just saying, okay, here is a generator. It used to power the city. You would be talking about, you need light bulbs, you need glass, it's more complex. You could almost, and again, I'm no pro at this, but I could almost challenge this, that if I had the money and foundation, I would say, hey, let's grab a team, let's go over there to Egypt and let's see, did they have the resources for copper? Did they have the resources to, make the wires and the tools to make the wires? What kind of obviously they had tools if they were chopping fucking pyramids, laser precision. But,
which were probably lasers.
But when you say there was power and they were powering a city.
I'm not. I don't know what they were powering. Right. I just know that it was what they are hypothesizing now is that it was a power source, a power structure.
And this is based off levers?
This is based on the conductiveness of the pyramid. Like, so like the rocks that are on the inside, the layout on the inside structure, and also the acoustics that are on the inside. Like all of these things, like all pair up to harnessing natural energy.
Before you continue, describe what you see when you go into a pyramid, because you got to understand. Like what you're telling me, I get, but what I've seen, a pyramid like all stone, and then there's just like a tomb where you bury somebody.
Nothing in there.
Is it empty? Is it open? Is it
just empty? Like so the.
Is it tight?
The ceilings, it's tight. Like it's low. You're like going down like
it's mostly rocks, all fucking covered, and
same thing, perfectly cut, insane stone work on the inside. But there wasn't normally in burial chambers. There's going to be hieroglyphics. There's going to be things that are telling the king's story. There's going to be things that are ornaments of his life and his rule and things that he did.
But is it a big place?
They don't have any of that though.
Is it a one-bedroom studio? Is it a fucking mansion inside?
No. It's very small. It's very small. But
the pyramid itself is
pyramid's
huge.
massive. There's a lot of different chambers in it, and like I said, the Giza pyramids themselves. I mean, have all sorts of various chambers and things that, align perfectly, due north or to like Orion, like little holes that line up. But there's
right, because they replicated the sky. That's one of the theories of what they were. Well, that's not a theory. That's exactly what they were doing. They were replicating.
Yeah.
The question was, how were they doing it? But
which also goes to prove the date of it, because it was lined up perfectly with Orion's belt during the last. Why am I blanking? It's not like solstice, but the rotation of stars in the sky that go like every 28,000 of years. Like, so we're in the age of Aquarius, the age of, whatever. They each have, an age. And when the pyramids would have been perfectly lined with that was during the last age, which was over 12,000 years ago. And so it was like all these other, an embarrassment of information that backs up the claim of the age of these things. I don't know if they were, when I say power plant, I guess maybe that's a wrong word for it, but I'm just going off of what I've read and what, people now who are experts in this field, are theorizing about it, is that, it was a power structure. It was meant to produce electricity of some sort.
But we don't know for what.
We don't know for what.
Right.
And so I mean, whether or not that was,
accurate
powering a city, I have no idea, or whether or not it was literally just there to be a beacon, like to be a beacon, like of something like to be seen, like like a structure, like a monument made, like a power, and like so there's not Paul Stamets. Paul Stamets is the fungi guy. I'm trying to think of this one of the most foremost experts on geology. Talks about basically the number of cataclysms, or EVEs, extinction level events, that have occurred over the past 150,000 years. And there's something like 13 of them that took place. So over the past 150,000 years, which is a fucking blink of an eye in the scheme of things. Yeah. On this planet, there was like 13 extinction level events that occurred, which is insane. 13 things that would have wiped out all life, or at least human life, like, or reduced us to, once again, scratch, hunter-gatherer, like, back to nothing again. And when you realize this, and then you realize now that we have these structures that essentially predate the last ice age now, that we have enough evidence to prove that they were, and then you find, new things like Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, which is another structure that's like 12,000 years old. That, and also next to what they believe to be a pyramid that's really 3 times the size of Giza, or 2 times the size of Giza, underneath this hill. That is yet to be, I think, fully proved. But they found structures that they've dug up now, a city that is there called Göbekli Tepe, that it's like 11,000 or 12,000 years old. And so when we know the last ice age was 12,000 years ago, these civilizations predated that. And what wiped them out was this last ice age. So there was a race of humans, whatever it was, that evolved on this planet, that evolved in a way that we have not now.
You're saying more advanced than us?
More advanced, but also completely in line with nature, in line with the universe, in line with like energy. They were doing things. They had like sound healing buildings in Egypt, like these like structures that were by the pyramids, like temples that were healing centers that strictly worked off of sound vibration only. Like all these things that, would be called pseudoscience and crazy stuff now, because we have evolved since this last reset button in a very bad way on this planet, very much a combustion consumption way, fossil fuels destroying the planet. Like nothing we do is symbiotic.
On the long term.
Yeah. Nothing is in harmony with nature. Nothing is in harmony with our surroundings. We have evolved after this last reset in a very bad way, and we're destroying ourselves. And like, we're
destroying the earth.
We're destroying the earth.
100%. We're taking all its resources.
And the earth doesn't give a shit. The earth will be fine. We will be the ones destroyed. Like it will rebound.
We're fucking up our air quality. We're fucking up our
everything. But these civilizations that were before knew enough to know, had enough foresight to know that they were going to create these structures with, once again, a technology. We have no clue what it was or how they did it, but they did it. They achieved a level of technology that does not appear to be the same way we have, through combustion, through machinery, through like, this stuff.
Like more artificial.
Yeah, it's temporary. It's completely temporary.
Yeah.
And they built these cities, they built these pyramids, and they did them all around the world, China, South America, North America. These things are everywhere.
China has pyramids too.
Yeah, they do.
I just read about that.
They're everywhere. And so, and these civilizations supposedly, never knew each other. Like they didn't fucking Christopher Columbus. Like, no, man. These guys were given the same information, whether that came from beings of a higher intelligence that came here, which is a far more rational explanation than any religion could ever give. As far as if you once again, you take into, and I know it's going to ruffle some feathers, but I was raised incredibly, very Judeo-Christian, very conservative upbringing. That was my, belief system for the first 24 years of my life. But when you look at this as the explanation of things, as the explanation of our origin, and you go based on the math, and you go based on the fact that right now we're playing God. That's what my brother essentially does with his 4 biotech companies. One of them is anti-aging. The other is immunology, programming the body to be able, for B cells and T cells to produce any antibody he wants, so you never need a therapeutic again, like a drug or a pharmaceutical. We're cloning. We're doing all this stuff, and we have been for the past, 20, 30 years. And we're fairly stupid. And so if you think about this, picture us with another 100 years of evolution. Where are we going to be?
Oh, fucked.
If we haven't killed ourselves, if we progress at this level,
if we get there,
if we get there, picture 100 years, how much things double.
I mean, you look at artificial intelligence, you look at computers uploading consciousness, downloading yourself into a fucking app.
Yeah,
it's
so that's 100 years, and that's us on a 5 billion year old planet.
And 100 years is nothing.
There's nothing.
That's her.
So
our kids.
What's more logical? That there was a primitive race of monkeys on this planet, and there was an intelligence that came here that was like, oh, look at you guys, fucking apes. Like, we could use you. I mean, which, the Anunnaki, Zecharia Sitchin, who, was the first real person, I think, to really write books and go into the ancient Sumerian text, which is the oldest, religious text that we have on the planet, is ancient Sumer, and where we get, all the biblical origin stories. They all pull from ancient Sumer, from the Garden of Eden to all this stuff. And these tablets discuss the Anunnaki, these gods from the sky, these beings that came here in ships and essentially created us, like the hybrid race of to mine for gold, essentially.
To mine for gold. You see, I just that's my whole dilemma. My whole dilemma is I can't believe there's an intelligent species that would want to come visit us. Period. That's what I see. There's no resource. There's no anything. There's like
tons of resources here. This is like a DNA, fauna, and flora rich environment. Earth is like teeming with life.
Yeah, but what are they gonna want? They're gonna want gold. They're gonna want emeralds. They're gonna want fucking
supposedly
rubies,
gold,
sapphires, stones. Water.
I don't know how much I subscribe, to the Anunnaki. I believe it's more accurate to our origin than anything else. Was intelligent interference is why we are who we are. Intelligent design in that regard, splicing of DNA, which explains a lot of holes in our DNA, this quote unquote missing link in evolution that we can't explain why.
In the last 100 years, all the stuff we've come up with.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, that goes in the UFO stuff and technology that we retrieved and things like Roswell and whatnot. And things that we uncovered in Antarctica. That's why is Antarctica completely?
But if you watch the first Transformers, they explained that Megatron crashed into the ice and they discovered him and they took the technology out.
Disclosure.
Transformers. Then they created the toaster and everything else. No, I just strongly believe. One of my favorite movies was that was loud, Joel.
Sorry. Don't judge me, people.
One of my favorite movies. Well, not favorite, but one movie that I did like was Tom Cruise's World of Wars. And the reason
War of the Worlds,
World of Wars, and the reason
the remake,
the remake, of course, the remake, obviously. The reason I like that is because obviously our immune systems are completely fucking different than anything else out there, and I feel that if there was an alien that came in and they were to breathe our air and it was to go to their I don't think people would last. Or I don't think aliens would last.
Yeah. Well,
that's one thing. 2, I feel that there's not enough resources. 3, again, I fuck it up. Mathematically, I get it, but the people that say they've seen aliens, it's like, really, you saw an alien, you got abducted by the alien. People that got abducted, not necessarily people that have seen. There's just too many holes. That's the problem.
Read the book Communion.
It's just a book.
Read the book, comedian.
It's just a book, no?
Written
by a human. Just like religion. By humans.
Written by a Harvard psychiatrist.
Human.
Yeah. No, but this is about abduction and about and so this guy is a skeptic.
There's never one witness around them. There's never.
Oh no! Well, his I mean, we have the Barney and Betty Hill story. I mean, there's tons of. You got to understand that these things. So, if we were, which we will be, I mean, we are spacefaring. The level of which the public knows about that is very limited. But we have technology. We've reverse engineered, and we've been in the stars for quite some time. But when we become, publicly that spacefaring, people that goes to other planets and sees things, it's going to be the same policy that we have now when observing, and uncovering these tribes. And just in the Amazon, as doing ayahuasca and, backpacking and doing all sorts of fun things down there.
Yeah, that's on my bucket list, by the way.
Oh, I highly recommend it. Although I might have gotten Lyme disease. It's the whole thing.
You literally highly recommend it.
See what you did there. See what you did there. Heyo. But there are tribes in the Amazon that have been untouched, like that will kill you and eat you if they see you. And like they're like, so when we were traveling, through it, they're like, there are places we can't take you because you'll get poison darted and eaten. But when we come across those civilizations, we don't interfere with them. We monitor them. We watch them because we know that they are so far now behind us technologically, culturally, they wouldn't be able to adapt. It'd be a gradual, it would blow their mind. So it'd
be too much information.
Yeah. So Tom DeLonge, former lead singer of Blink-182 and the head of the To the Stars of Academy of Arts and Science, who's responsible for a lot of the disclosure going on right now. And for those of you in the UFO community, everyone's going to have a different feeling about whether or not he is a puppet for the government or whether or not he, is really, this is all sanctioned and, not ultimately counterintelligence and disinformation, but he has been the one that released those or got those 3 videos released by the DOD and the CIA. If you saw them, the military videos of us chasing the Tic Tac, the gimbal, and the.
I'm not familiar with those.
What?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Jamie,
pull that shit up. I mean,
Jaime. How have? All right, fine. Yeah. I'm disappointed. I'll show you them.
Blank canvas, bro. Blank canvas.
Yeah, that's true. You are very blank canvas. I'm happy about this. I'm gonna take you down a wormhole, bro.
I want to hear this.
So these have been declassified, and weirdly enough, just recently, it was on the news again. CNN, Fox, and MSNBC, and all of them picked this up 2 weeks ago, and are like, the DOD now confirms that those videos are in fact real and released by the Pentagon, even though this was declassified and released 2 years ago and was all over the news. These 3 videos. Undisputable proof of UFOs, or a UAP, unidentified aerial phenomena, as the new nomenclature goes.
Were those the ones that were kind of raining stars, or it looked fucking weird?
No. The first one is a Tic Tac, and this was off of about 70 miles off Coronado. There is multiple radar backing of this. All the radar stuff is documented, tracked, traced, a wingless Tic Tac shaped craft. So no form of propulsion. I come from 3 generations of pilots. I'm fairly familiar with jet propulsion and how that level of physics works. 0 propulsion, 0 wings, anything to give it lift, anything to do anything. This was a Tic-Tac shaped craft that was outmaneuvering the F-18
I was thinking
Hornets.
Tic-Tac or TikTok.
God help us all with that.
Yeah, no, okay. Tic-Tac shape.
Tic-Tac, yeah.
No wings, got it. No all wings, evil.
Yeah. Just a Tic-Tac. And it was hovering above the ocean. They believe, they said it basically came out of the water from the ocean and was sitting there causing distortion. This is all back. There's a 6-part documentary called Unidentified that Tom put out that was on the History Channel, and I would strongly encourage this interview of all the pilots that chased this, all the radar technicians of these three declassified instances. It's beyond proof, man. And this is the craziest thing. This is what gets me when you talk about, dude, does it bother you that you do all this research and you find all this evidence and you read these reports?
It even drives people nuts. I would imagine your situation. You're frustrated as fuck.
And people just yes, but this one in particular, that like it is now on the mainstream. Like they've put it out. Like it is everywhere. Like UFOs are real. Like here is footage of freaking US military aircraft chasing these things down. Here is the radar footage of them locked on. I mean, everything.
It's camera, it's infrared.
Everything.
I heard about this. I don't know. I heard of one of these, but I'm sorry.
But people still don't give a shit. Still don't care. And they're like, oh no, I still want to know.
Well,
I don't want to know.
That's pretty easy to understand. They don't want to believe it, or they don't accept it because, fuck, have you seen our movies? Production companies can fucking create amazing things.
Sure,
and I'm not saying that. I get that. I'm not saying that's an excuse. But there's a fucking UFO app that I can take a picture right now, and it's going to show
augmented reality.
All kinds of crazy shit. And I think that's the problem. Check this out. I own several guns. All right. But there's fake guns that look real. And now some of my real guns look fake. It's like, what the fuck's going on, man?
That's a very interesting analogy.
And what I'm saying is that you see, it's like we want to believe, but we don't see anything, so we don't believe. And then somebody comes out with something. It's like, but is that, produced? Is that real? Is that fake? Is that whatever the case is?
I feel what Nate is always saying is, well, there's a bottom line that we always knew that this was happening, but the government would never confirm it. Yeah. Now that the government confirms it, we don't believe it anymore. Mm-hmm. Well, that's what they're trying to do, maybe.
No one cares.
No one cares.
But this is also, there's then the conspiracy theory about this is why they confirm this right now.
Right.
This was already released 2 years ago. This was all over the news. And now, for whatever reason, during COVID, they suddenly just come out and be like, the Pentagon confirms now that these videos are real, even though they were declassified by the DOD. Why would they just come out 2 years later, out of the fucking blue? Nobody was talking about this. And they suddenly just like, hey, I know COVID and us robbing you of your freedoms and creating a totalitarian state's going on over here, but UFOs, distraction. Like all this.
That is weird that the timing and how they brought it out. I completely get what your point there.
The thing that just it blows my mind about this is that fundamentally, this is the most important thing there is.
UFOs.
Yeah. Well, the reality of life, intelligent life that is beyond our intelligence and our technological capabilities here, visiting our planet, shits on every single paradigm that we have in this world. Every person's paradigm, every person's reality of what they believe, whether, it's their religious views, their, political views, that the paradigm that we all live in, that very fact that they're like, yes, these are unidentified craft that are doing things that do not operate in the laws of physics, that would require an anti-gravity propulsion system, which doesn't exist, quote unquote.
Which I was going to ask.
Yeah, completely not capable of, no craft can perform the maneuvers these things are doing, especially without wings or fucking engines.
Yeah.
No signs of propulsion, nothing. Like not emitting any heat, not emitting any wind throwback, which is like, because they have radar that can read for all these things. So you can tell if it's a propeller plane, you can tell if it's a jet engine plane based on the heat it's throwing off. They're all propulsion systems and producing nothing. So like this Tic Tac, which is just a little oval that is the size of like, a fighter jet, is cruising at speeds that we can't even comprehend, performing right angle turns at like 3,000 miles an hour, which based on the inertia alone would turn any occupant inside that into fucking jelly. It would liquefy you. Like that is the physics of this. It is not possible. And these craft are doing it. And we have proof. There's video footage of this. There's backed up by testimony of this by credible people, by the head of one of the top pilots in Top Gun who was chasing this thing, a seasoned guy in his 50s. So like one of those senior pilots.
Yeah. He was on TV.
He's on Rogan.
He
had him on.
Rogan had him on. He was on TV. Yeah, he interviewed him.
Yeah.
And he talked about it, and he was talking about all the different cameras and technologies that were tracking him.
Like, but that very fact alone changes everything. Like it changes everything. Yeah, like we're not alone. And there is life out there that is more intelligent. Therefore, what is God? What is our concept of any of this stuff? Like if we, based on religion, I totally believe in God. I don't believe in any God of any religion. I have my feelings about that being raised in it. And, anything man-made is usually for suppression, control, and greed and power. But this changes everything. We're not the center of the universe. This shatters our ego. This shadows our paradigm, or shatters our paradigm. Like our hubris has led us to believe that we are the center of everything. That no, there's no intelligent life out there. It's us. We're the pinnacle. I hope not. I hope we aren't the best the universe could put out, because we're fucked if that's the case. Look at how we treated our planet. Look how we treat each other. Look at the things we do. We're not evolved. We're not like an ascended species. Like we are primitive and we're primal, and we battle these, monkey mentalities on a daily basis. And
we want our Wi-Fi and our social media and our car space.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's fucking crazy.
It's crazy, but it changes everything. And the fact that people, like, this information comes out and they don't care.
What does it change for you? Well, because this is something you've changed. This is something not changed. This is something you've chased. This is something you studied. Now you get this confirmation.
Well, it was confirmed when I saw it.
Right.
I saw it at Area 51.
Right.
Me and my best friends from home, Stephen.
What did you see at Area 51?
We watched a craft so obviously you can't go into Area 51. They took down the signs in 2015 that said lethal force authorized if you cross essentially this imaginary line. Area 51 itself is the size of Rhode Island. It's fucking massive.
It's massive, yeah.
Originally where the Manhattan Project took place, where all the A-bombs were tested. That was originally the purpose of Area 51. That was what was going on there. And then it turned gradually into essentially like, our secret space program up until the 90s when it became mainstream, when people like Bob Lazar put it on the map, and then people started going there, and then they moved everything allegedly to Kings Peak, Utah, and that's now where the secret space program resides, is underneath the mountain at Kings Peak. But we went there and went and camped out in the desert. So the 375 highway, I believe, is what it is, which is called Extraterrestrial Highway, which is like 100-mile long stretch of road through the middle of Rachel, Nevada, like BFE. There's something like 20 cars that ride on this road a day. Nobody out there. You're in the middle of
nothing. Because all the employees go from Vegas, right? Yeah. There's a flight pattern.
Yeah, Janet Air, I believe is what it's called. It's a white plane with a red stripe.
Yeah, red stripe, yeah.
And they take a couple loads of people there and back every day. And then they take you by a windowless bus, to the various places, S4, S2, the various spaces around Groom Lake and whatnot. But we drove out just into the middle of the desert, went off the 375, went where the black mailbox is, which is a big thing in UFO lore. And we just drove however many miles into the middle of the desert, about a few miles outside of the imaginary border of Area 51. Massive thunderstorm. I made a little video for this. I actually uploaded it to YouTube. It's like a 20-minute documentary on this trip that I filmed.
They haven't taken it down?
No, they don't give a shit.
Oh, good.
Yeah, they don't care. There's so much UFO
make
stuff
a sexist comment and they take that shit down quick.
Or be a doctor who comes out and presents any contrary information to COVID, and they'll remove it. Yeah. Oh, that was weird. I didn't even get to that part.
We'll go back.
That was all right. We'll move on from COVID. It's depressing. So we got out in the desert and we set up shop, but we got out of the car, right? So mind you, you're surrounded by flat desert for like as far as the eye can see everywhere. And then there's mountains off in the distance that kind of surround you all around. So you can see anything. Like if you looked in your rear view mirror, your side view mirror, anywhere around you, you could see if there was anybody around. And there's not. It's empty, desolate desert. We parked, got out of my car. We weren't even out of the car for 60 seconds. And suddenly a white Raptor truck blew by us, flying on the dirt through the desert with two, what they call camo dudes in it. Special Forces soldiers that patrol all of Area 51. So they'll be on 4x4s, dirt bikes, or these white Raptor trucks. All of this I read
That's
about,
impressive.
Researched, like before going there. This is all the stuff in UFO lore people talking about. Like if you go to Area 51, like the camo dudes are going to be there and you'll see them perched in this place and be on lookout. Sure enough. But there was nobody, Robert, around us. I looked at we were in the middle of the fucking desert. No cars, nobody following us, no nothing. And we got out of the car and not even 60 seconds later, a Raptor truck buzzed us with this.
But they probably had tunnels and they probably
of course, 100%. Just came out of the ground somewhere.
Yeah.
And like this guy just staring at us out the window. The guy in the passenger seat just...
Was it a human?
Yeah, it's a soldier. It's a special ops soldier. Like just staring.
I just want to make sure.
Just it's not E.T. E.T. wasn't in a white Raptor truck. He'd be slumming it.
Yeah.
I'm slumming it. I'm slumming it in a white Raptor truck.
I flew over here many galaxies, got this job. Fuck.
Fuck me.
Hate this shit, man. My parents made me do
This
it.
is my life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got drafted.
It was it was
yeah.
I got drafted. Yeah. He just staring at us, like just mean mugging the fuck. Basically, like, we know you're here, just so you know. Like, hey, fucktards, we see you out here. Don't, just know we know.
They could totally just shoot people and just fucking drive
100%,
more, right?
100%. We're in the middle of nowhere.
That part's pretty fucking frightening.
It was very frightening. And there was a massive thunderstorm that was moving in. And so we were like also terrified of that, because we were setting up a tent like in the middle of this flat desert as this massive thunderstorm was moving in, which is also scary in of itself. But anyway, we went and, set up camp, and around 1 a.m, did a little meditation, which is a part of, it's kind of like CE5 protocol, close encounter of the fifth kind, which is Stephen Greer's thing that he pioneered, which is another one of the leading ufologists who's kind of pioneered a lot of the disclosure stuff and brought a lot of stuff to the Senate and had hearings with like 200, military officials or politicians, people around the world who all were willing to testify about the UFO phenomena and their involvement in it. And this was 2001, August. And what happened right after that? That was September 11th.
Yeah.
Weird. Right when this aired. That's a whole other conspiracy theory there. But you can watch all this stuff. All these guys came and testified. But anyway, so he coined this whole thing.
But that was a financial reason.
Yeah. Well, yeah. The Rumsfeld, the $3.7 trillion is missing.
Must be legit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it must be real. Totally terrorist.
That other building burnt down.
God, don't even
science,
bro. We could spend a whole podcast talking about 9/11. But anyway, so he coined this whole close encounter of the fifth kind. Where you've heard of close encounters. 1 through 4 are essentially non-human initiated contact, where something happens to you against your will. Where they are initiating the contact, and close encounter of the fifth time is where you initiate the contact with beings of elsewhere, where you basically are like, show up, say what's up. Like, I want to see you, like, putting out good vibes. Here's my location, blah, blah. And so he does this. He lead people in the desert and do all this crazy shit. And things always happen. So me and my buddy were like, well, we don't need that. We'll just go out there and, meditate, freaking throw out some vibes and be like, like I said, energy is real. Like, just because, the telepathy, all these things, we're incapable of these things, but other beings aren't. There are things that are far more evolved than we are. I mean, even with animals.
Yeah, we're only using 10% of our brain.
Yeah.
Maybe we can if we were able to access it.
Yeah, supposedly there are people that can. I mean, the whole kids that bend spoons with their mind and stuff like that. Like, it's not just a Matrix thing. Matrix pulled that from real stories of like kids who could do that. And so we just meditated. We're like, this is where we are. Here's our location. We've researched for a long time. We just love to give us something, man. Like, I know we're a pathetic, human race, whatever, like, that is insignificant, but like, give us this, like, just show up, let us know you're real. Like, just give us this. And then around 3:30 in the morning, and like a storm moved in, and we had like go in the tent, but like 3:30, suddenly everything went silent. The rain stopped beating against the tent. We went out, like the fire was out, and we started looking around us. And suddenly my buddy Steven was like, dude, what's that over there? And we saw this orb of light, and we're like, I don't know what that is. And we sat there watching this thing for like 15 minutes, trying to explain away logically what it is. Because yes, I've researched this, and before that, I believe beyond a shadow of a doubt, based on the evidence that this was real, that this phenomenon was real. Like, that is, if it was any other subject, there is more than enough proof to make this fact. But it's not. It is this subject, and therefore it is completely discredited, and there's reasons for the suppression of this information. But if there was this much proof about anything else, this much declassified documentation, this much anything, it would be accepted as fact. But it's not. It's the UFO subject, and so with it carries that stigma by design. So even though we believed in it, our rational brain was still like, yeah, it's probably like, maybe it's a truck, maybe it's this, because it wasn't up in the sky. This was about 20 feet above the ground, about maybe a mile in front of us. And we watched this thing hovering silently just above the ground at a distance. And I videotaped it, but it was with like an iPhone, I don't know at the time, 6 or something. Like, and as you know, videotaping anything with an iPhone at night is not going to pick up anything, but it picked up the orb of light that it was. And granted, the stars don't even show up when you film the stars, like with the phone. But like this bright giant orb completely showed up. And so We watched this thing, move around, move erratically. It had like what looked like a light that it was shining on the ground as it was like moving back and forth. Watched like 15, 20 minutes. Pulled out my little headlamp I had and like turned the strobe light on. Was like, all right, we came here to do business. We're gonna get his attention. And so
let's communicate.
Yeah, turned the strobe light on. Thing instantly disappeared. Just gone.
The moment you turn on the light.
The moment I turned the light, like flashed it and then just gone. Then it reappeared. That was to the north of us. Then it reappeared to the south immediately after, and it appeared with another one. So there's two of them. And these little things, same thing, about 20 feet above the ground. This isn't up in the sky. This is like above the ground.
But what's going on? I mean, like, I hear this and I accept it 100%. You should breathe.
I really need to fucking breathe,
You
apparently.
should fucking breathe. I understand, like, I understand what you saw, and I'm not questioning what you saw, but what would be the point of having these guys with the truck that saw you guys being there, not them kicking you out, you guys camping?
It's public land. We weren't in there. I mean, you guys said if you
right, but
be arrested,
but are they just keeping aliens there, and their aliens are exercising and stretching and working out? Like, I mean, I don't understand what would be the point of all that.
So yeah,
and I'm not questioning what you haven't seen, because obviously the technology. I understand that it's a military base, it's technology. They've done planes, they've done the Archangel, they've done many projects. They're practicing shit, but what you're saying, like, I mean, what do you get out of it? What do you get out of that?
Well, so that was the questions that we asked. So basically, long story short, we watched this thing for 45 minutes. This wasn't like a quick.
Every time you flash the light, or when you did flash the light, it just disappeared.
It disappeared the second time. Then the third time, it appeared the closest to us that it had. And it was so close that its lights illuminated its shape, and it was 100% a flying saucer. A couple hundred yards.
Did you feel like, again, propellers? Did you feel energy?
Nothing.
Did you feel
a slight
gravity?
hum.
Nothing.
Slight hum. Slight hum. And we watched this thing literally like like Close Encounters, like Spielberg's movie, like that dead silent sound of like the ship going over the desert, like deathly quiet outside of like what sounded like a faint coronal discharge, like a faint hum.
Right.
And both him and I, at the exact same moment, like put our arms around each other and we're like, holy shit, it's a saucer. Like it is everything that you would read about in, any type of UFO lore, a cylindrical craft flying, lights around it, point at the bottom, completely silently.
Lights were around it, or it was creating a light itself?
It had like a light emanating like sporadically
LED,
around it, like
LEDs, but
like that type of thing, and then like one that was in the front. And
when it disappeared, what do you mean it disappeared? Like it just vanished, or it just shot up, or shot down?
It just kept going north. It was like heading north and then rounded essentially. Like
so, you guys were facing north. You saw it north.
We were facing west, and then it was going north. Like on the time it was the closest to us.
But when it disappeared, I'm sorry,
the first two times it just poof gone,
like just vanished.
Gone.
It vanished.
Yeah,
like you don't know if it went up or down,
just gone, and then appeared the opposite direction of us.
What was it far enough that if it just turned off its lights, hypothetically, you wouldn't be able to see it?
No,
you still would have been able to see like a shadow or something like that if that was the case.
Well, no, it's dark. I mean, I suppose if the light went off, we probably wouldn't have been able to see it. But at the distance it was, but then it reappeared, literally the exact same object, the opposite direction seconds later with another one.
Right. So
that was doing the same thing.
Yeah.
And then
another one.
Yeah, there's two.
The same one.
No, there's two of them at that time. The first one we watched in the north disappeared, then to the south there was two suddenly that were there, like spinning around each other. Then they darted off in opposite directions like this. And it was like, it was so crazy. It was so crazy to watch. I'm like, what the hell? What are we even watching right now? We didn't even know what it was. Like, it defies explanation because we don't have anything like that can do that.
Well, my question would be, because again, I'm trying to make sense out of this. The only thing that I could make sense out of this would be there was a spaceship that crashed, Roswell, right? We took their technology. Now we have it.
For sure.
And there's two soldiers that are like, whoa, look, they're fucking around with it.
Yes.
That kind of makes sense.
Yes. So what we saw very well could have been us. Very well could have been us. But then you have
with their machinery.
Yeah, well, just our reverse engineer technology with anti-gravity propulsion. Like, we have it. We've done it. Like it is like, once again, an embarrassment of proof out there about this, and people who've come forward, deathbed confessions. Like, I mean, I've watched all of these, read these things. Like you'd be surprised how much is actually out there. It just will never, like the mainstream media will never pick it up. They'll never pick it up. Like it's, if you,
and there's too much static.
Yeah. Oh, there's so much bullshit.
Yeah.
That's the thing, is like 10 years of doing this, 80% of it's bullshit.
80%. I would even say more.
I would just go with 80-20 principle.
Well, they say 73.567 of statistics are made up. So on the spot.
60% of the time, it works every time.
All the time.
But we don't know if it was them or us. But if it was them, it doesn't seem weird, though, if you have Area 51, which is the size of Rhode Island, that you would come outside of its borders, outside of its mountain range that conceals everything where they do all these testing, to come out and fuck with two dudes who are like out in the middle of like desert. On public land.
But then I think it would fuck with me more thinking there's an intelligent life in this fucking place that's the size of Rhode Island and they're content with being there. That doesn't make sense to me either. Oh, no, and then at the night they just pop up and fuck around with people that what are they doing? They're testing their own fucking ships.
No. Well, that's the thing. It was them coming down to say what's up, or it was
on the desert fucking floor. That makes no sense. That to me has no value.
What do you mean? How so?
It's them, aliens coming
who are here. Like they're here. They're always here. They're not like it's not like I called them from like Alpha Centauri and they flew 10 light years to come here.
I'm being serious, but would you take into consideration the whole Men in Black thing where fucking aliens come here and, act like us, walk like us, talk like us, and that's far-fetched?
Well, Men in Black was based on reality. It was based on real Men in Black. These are stories that they took this from even going back to the Phoenix Lights, Men in Black that showed up at people's houses who videotaped, I don't know if you're familiar with the Phoenix Lights. Are you familiar with that?
I'm not. I've heard of it, but I'm not. I thought we were going to talk about, acting.
Did you?
Motorcycles.
Oh, no. We can talk about whatever you want.
No. I love this.
It's a rabbit hole.
Please.
It's a rabbit hole.
But what were the Phoenix Lights?
Well, the Phoenix Lights.
Jamie, pull that shit up.
Yeah, Jamie, can you pull that up?
How come we didn't hook up the TV for this?
Yeah, I know. Seriously,
that's so bad.
To be able to have all this stuff would help a lot with.
That means we're gonna have to do a round 2, 3, 4, and 5 for this, and that I promise you. And next one we will have everything. But
and we'll extrapolate on any one of these subjects because each of them deserves its own podcast to do it justice. Because I'm really just breezing over so much of this stuff. And
I am promising you and the listeners that we were gonna get all the tools to back this up, and I'm gonna do my research.
Yeah, I'll send you a lot of stuff because then I want your questions to be more informed so that you can also pick apart any of this stuff as well.
I'm trying to understand the logic or the common sense of it, and maybe there's not common sense for it.
There's so much, speculation, and the common reaction from people is like, well, I don't get if they're real, then why do they just land on the White House lawn, like that whole thing, and show us that they're real. Like, why would they do that? Like, we wouldn't do that if we were an intelligent race monitoring something, observing a species. Like
we would do that. We would fucking come out with our big American flag, with our tanks.
It depends if it's military observing it or scientists observing it.
If it's military, they would run over an alien White House and be like, America, this is fucking our land, now. And then we'd try to take it over and start a war. We would absolutely do stupid shit like that.
True. We are assholes. Yeah, no, you're not wrong in that regard.
We fuck their women.
Yeah, we
just straight out.
Bastard alien children just running around.
100%. I forgot what book it was.
Mount Adams.
That was going to be the second one I was going to get to because
I sparked up we sparked up a good topic. Go. Let's get.
Oh well, so I mean, to finish the Area 51 thing, we watched this, recorded it.
Regardless if it was aliens or if it was soldiers practicing,
if it's us or them, it still proves they are real. Because it was a technology that exists that we say doesn't exist. And if it exists, it makes possible light speed travel, interstellar travel, all of these things that we supposedly say limit us to, the reaches of even the moon. We haven't even made it to Mars yet. I mean, outside of a rover. But like if we have anti-gravity propulsion systems where we do no longer have to obey essentially space-time and are able to defy those things, then all travel instantly becomes possible. Well, and so if we possess that, if it's us or them, it doesn't matter. We didn't create it. We have it. And if we have it, it came from somewhere else. Because supposedly this very technology shits on all physics that we currently accept or teach in schools.
Understood.
And so the very nature that it exists, same with these declassified videos, proves beyond a shadow of a doubt that there is an intelligent design out there of a technology that we can't even fathom. But we have it. Somebody has it. Like, it's there. We've witnessed it. There is countless people, millions of people around the world who witness this technology.
But what would you say? What silly question? Elon Musk, alien or human?
God, he talks like a freaking android. I mean, he's
maybe like he's an old school alien.
I don't know, man. I mean, he could be either.
He could be either. And the only reason I'm going to ask, and the thought actually crossed my mind, but as you're talking about this energy and this transportation and, you know, the way we travel and physics and everything else, I mean, how much fucking money is this guy spending on rockets?
Good for him.
You know, well, it's not just good for him. It's and forget, let's say it's bad for him or bad for the investors, good for him. But if there's another technology that can transport us, why waste this much money on NASA? Why waste this much money on that's SpaceX and multiple companies that are doing this? Because now it's I think there's several. I think there's 4 or 5 companies. I would have to.
I mean, well, that all goes with maintaining the cover. I mean, go and maintain the cover up.
So spend billions of fucking dollars on making rockets and spaceships.
It's not theirs. It's not.
I mean,
the government's not doing it. I mean, NASA's what the fuck has NASA done? What has NASA done?
Well, NASA's done a bunch of things. They said
what they say. Besides launch some satellites to spy on us, like for the CIA, like satellites. Like what have they done? Like
because of NASA, they also they haven't.
Well.
Dun dun dun. What do you mean?
Well, here's the thing though. Like that also is like one of the, you know, talk about compelling arguments of what we found on the moon is that we supposedly went there in, you know, 69, even though, you know, the reality is we went there in the 50s. But
Russia had the first one, right?
Well, they had Sputnik, which, you know, got into orbit, but we went to the moon first, supposedly. Well, we did go to the moon first. But I mean, the whole, you know, they had the fake moon landing, which I believe, but I don't believe it was. Right. I don't believe it was fake because we didn't go. I believe it was fake because we couldn't show what we saw.
Of the productions and cameras and film and the entrance of the
the documentaries on that is insane.
Right.
And then, you know, what was it? The 2001 Space Odyssey that, you know, came out shortly after this, which incorporated so much of the exact same technology, like that, you know.
Right. And they were also saying that the spaceships are so thin that the radiation of coming into Earth is ridiculous, that humans can't take it, but then they're saying they can.
There's all, I mean,
it's never ending.
The flag. I mean, there's all sorts of stuff with why that, you know, that footage was bogus. But you know, but it's not a matter of that we didn't go. It's a matter of which, you know, you hear from Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin talk about, and these other astronauts who said like. And there's communication. So there's the line from NASA that was the public line that the astronauts spoke on, which everyone could listen to. Out. Well, there's that line, but then there is a private line that NASA had. But anybody who had, like, you know, back then a radio transmitter, could tune into it. Could listen to it.
But not many people had radios because couldn't afford
but some people did.
Yeah.
And they switched over to these private channels and were like, Houston, we're getting buzzed. Like, we got craft like all around us. Around us, like, what do we do? And they're like, proceed as normal. Like, Doc, they're like, tons of these astronauts have been like, we saw things up there. We saw things saw us. Like, we weren't welcome. It's basically like, you know, the long and short of it. And, you know, and what the going story and the UFO lore is that we were told not to come back. We're not allowed to come back. Like, and so we haven't. And that's been the reason. Because otherwise, we did this in 1969 with computers that were the size of your house that had the processing power of like, you know, a freaking have less than our watches do.
Right.
And we sent people to the moon with that. And we look where technology is now, and like
it's like what the fuck's going on?
Yeah, and yet we haven't gone.
We don't have tours or anything.
Oh no, we saw everything we need to see at the moon.
They say there's 100%
there's bases.
100%.
100%.
Because it was back to the statement that I was telling you earlier.
Dark side of the moon.
There was a race to whoever gets to the moon first. Yeah. Because the first one there was going to rule the world by arming it with weapons. Yeah. But for some reason, something scared them off.
You ever watch Iron Skies?
No.
Terrible Nazi movies. They're hilarious.
No, I haven't seen it. It's like Nazis are up there.
Yeah, it's Nazis on the moon. It's like this low. They're hilarious.
Do you know why there's a dark side of the moon?
By its orbit, just never sees the sun. Never hits it.
Never see it. Yeah. Like we're looking at one of the poles.
Yeah.
We're looking like at its south pole and or north pole, whatever.
It's based on its rotation. The sunlight never hits it.
Interesting.
Yeah. Or like, to us anyway, we can never see it. Like based on how it's rotating in our orbit. Some astrophysics and.
But I think that side. Well, does the sun ever hit it? And if it did, don't we have satellites farther than the moon to take pictures of that?
Oh, 100%.
Which is a different topic.
Yeah. I mean, yes. I mean, but.
And didn't they say our moons collided? And we had 2 moons and they collided into each other, and the backside is like.
Well, I mean, there's all sorts of speculation about, us being two medium-sized planets initially that collided.
I'm way too sober for this conversation. I'm sure for the next one, I'm gonna that's.
You
ever try any psychedelics or anything? Oh, I've heard of your Amazon trips.
Big fan of them.
Not the Amazon.com, but
the Amazon,
Peru, Colombia.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm a big fan. Big fan.
I want to try that.
DMT. Which one?
DMT something.
Well, I mean, DMT you smoke, but it's the active ingredient in ayahuasca, dimethyltryptamine, and I mean that's another level. I mean, I always would recommend people start with like psilocybin, maybe LSD. Try those first, see how you fare. DMT is truly the spirit molecule, which is a fascinating, amazing book to read. DMT, the Spirit Molecule by Rick Strassman, doctor who conducted the first DMT study since the 60s and early 2000s. Some like 400 clinical trials with it, intravenously done. Fascinating, man. So such an incredible read, will blow your mind. I usually tell people they should read that book before doing it because you really, what psychedelics have you done?
None. I tried acid when I was younger. Watched The Doors. That was fun. Really? Actually, it was like whatever. I think it was like back days when I was younger. It was all shitty stuff. I think I'm like 100 years old or something. Outside of that, I haven't tried any really. And again, even that acid that I tried was kind of. I think it was like broken.
See, it's interesting. It's broken.
Yeah, it was broken. It was like a shit deal.
Psychedelics are they're not something to be taken lightly. They're something to be done with like fear and reverence and respect. And if you do them for the right reasons in the right setting, right set and setting, it will be a profound, life-changing experience that will leave you better off than when you started every time.
That's what I keep hearing. I got a good friend of mine. He tries it. He does it quite a bit. And he says whenever there's an issue or a problem or anything else, he could take it. And he feels like he steps out of his body. Yeah. And he can fix issues and resolve problems. Yeah. And when he's done, he comes back to his body. He's like, okay, I know what to do. Yeah. I know how to handle it. That's how he describes it.
It's something that, we've used since the dawn of time, man.
Oh, 100%.
It's a part of everything. Like shamanism was around before any religion ever was. That was the quote unquote religion, but it wasn't religion. It was spirituality. It was connection with source, with God, the energy source that we all come from, like the eternal nature of all things of which we are a part of. That used to be the guiding light. Native Americans and other shamanic traditions that predate all of this stuff knew this and used this, and it was a part of their culture, and it was a vital part of their culture, and it was a part of initiation into manhood, into adulthood for anybody. That you would take these things at like the age of 18 or 16 or whatever it was, and you'd also kind of reveal your place in the community, like what your gifts are, what you're there for, and understandings that there's no way to ever really describe it to somebody who hasn't done it. You just have to do it, because it's going to be different for everybody. Yeah, there's similarities of geometry, fractal patterns, and things like that are going to be consistent with any trip that you're going to have. Will vary slightly from psilocybin to LSD to mushrooms or to ayahuasca or peyote. They're all going to be slightly different, but they're all the same within that realm. Like certain people, you're going to see the same things for the most part, like geometries and fractal patterns and whatnot. But
which is interesting because they say like when people have a bad dream or when people have a trip or something, they see things, but nobody ever sees the same thing. But on these drugs, people see similar things. Yeah. And weren't they saying this is an access to another dimension?
DMT in particular.
DMT,
yeah, DMT in particular.
Because people this is why the CIA, this is why the Secret Service, this is why they were testing it, because they were accessing information, and makes sense why they were making it illegal.
They outlined all this stuff in the free love movement because essentially people were taking these things and realizing very quickly that we're not different. Like all these things that society uses to separate us, race, religion, sex, sexual orientation, politics, all these things are used divisively to separate, to keep us from uniting as one, to keep us from realizing that we are all the fucking same. We're packaged slightly differently, but the reality is that difference in packaging is actually the beautiful part of nature. That is what makes us different. Like that is something to be celebrated, not feared. And instead they want us to fear what's different and kill what's different, because it is not you. And so during, the 60s, when, LSD came around, like late 50s, and then hit the streets, early 60s. And with it came the psychedelic revolution, like the free love movement, where people suddenly were like, why would I go fight in Vietnam? Like, these are my brothers over there. Like, why would I kill them? Like, they're just like me. Like, and why are we like, why? And why am I in this fucking system? Why am I listening to you? Like, who gives you authority? Like, and that questioning would not stand for the powers that rule the world, for the powers that want you as a cog in their wheel. That type of questioning is toxic to that. And any major government and ruling power doesn't want free thinkers. So you look at the drugs that are legal. Look at the drugs that are legal. Caffeine can kill you. Alcohol, 100% can kill you in many ways.
300,000, I think, a year, they said.
Yeah. Tobacco, nicotine.
Huge.
Completely legal.
500,000 or something.
Sugar kills more than anybody. The sugar cartel is the biggest cartel on the freaking planet. That kills
Coca-Cola.
So many people.
Yeah.
So many people. And then you have
Did you hear that the sugar companies were paying doctors and scientists in the early 50s, 30s and 50s, something around there?
Food pyramid nonsense.
Yeah, saying, hey, sugar's not the enemy. Cholesterol and fats and butter and all that stuff are the enemy. Which is
those lobbyists, those same type of people that are the ones, like I said, who are responsible for ruling the world. They dictate all legislation. Yeah. Those powers, like politics and government, are there to serve them. They're there to serve the money. Like all laws and legislation is dictated by big whatever, big pharma, big oil, big freaking sugar, big whatever. Like,
come on, how many fucking people die from pharmaceuticals?
Oh, dude,
people get hooked.
Terrible. Like not only highly addictive, no long-term studies. Most of them are going to end up causing cancer, or doing terrible things like to you anyway. But a lot of them then require other medications. Yeah. Like they're inventing new disorders and new diseases every fucking day that never existed. And here's a new pill for that. Here's a new pill. My favorite one is the opioid-induced constipation. Like, so opioids are such a fucking epidemic in this country, such a problem that Big Pharma, which Big Pharma is responsible for, that they created another pharmaceutical drug. So the market had to be so big. Think about this. In order for pharma to invest billions of dollars into creating a new drug, the market has to be massive. So the market of opioid abuse in this country was so large that they created a new drug for opioid-induced constipation. There's advertisements for it. Just fucking Google it. This is a real drug so you can take your opioids and still take a shit.
Fucking
Facts.
Bravo.
It's crazy. So, but these are the drugs that are legal.
Fucking shit. That's so nuts.
I know.
That's so fucking nuts.
But these are the drugs that are legal. This is like they're called the worker drugs. Coffee, alcohol, nicotine, pick your pharmaceuticals and whatever else. These drugs, sugars, they're stimulant based in a way. They keep you working in the system. They don't make you question anything. Nobody gets drunk and really debates like philosophy. No, they're going to go out and, sleep with someone they shouldn't, get in a fight, drive, or have like just dumb conversations they're not going to remember. Like nobody's really contemplating,
They're numbing down the people.
It's like, it's exactly.
What's interesting is the consistency of this conversation about what you're saying realistically all concludes to the same thing. And it's a higher power, or it's government, or whatever the agenda is, separating the people. Mm-hmm. They don't want people to unite. They want to divide us all by
100%.
by every single category.
It's so obvious.
And regardless if we're talking about COVID-19, fake news, pharmaceutical, I mean that's kind of the conclusion of everything we discuss. And it's such different fucking topics.
Yeah.
That all conclude to the same thing.
It's prevalent everywhere. Like and that's what I'm saying.
It's like even the Second Amendment. The Second Amendment's like, you get to keep your guns to protect yourself from your government, but they have us so fucking separated.
Yeah. What was the first thing they outlawed or they deemed not a necessary business in California when the COVID hit? Guns. The one thing, like the one time you would need them was during this. Like the one time that there was actual threat of not only like riots and like, LA falling to pieces, like with the police response time of like 20 minutes anyway. Right. Like when the system falls apart, that's going to be even longer. And then you have
buy
No, for like a police response time.
Right,
the
right,
one time
right.
that you would might need
Right.
your gun to protect yourself, not only from the government, but also from
fucking anarchy.
Yeah, from anarchy. That was the first thing they closed down. Like
No, they did close down.
Guns,
Guns?
FFLs, they deemed them non-essential business.
That's bullshit. I just bought a gun, picked it up yesterday or the day before yesterday.
Where?
Burbank. I just bought bullets a month ago. I'm just
literally there's an LA Times that
I just
they
ordered a new shotgun. No.
It was by appointment, and then
No. I walked in. They asked if I had an appointment. I said no, but I want to buy a gun. They're like, "Come on in, kiddo." I was like, "All right, cool."
Is that
true story?
Is that LA County technically then?
Burbank. I bought Burbank, and I bought ammo in Glendale.
No, but is that considered?
LA? Yeah.
That's
LA.
weird because I literally read articles in the
if you
LA
go to-
Times.
it's the same thing as the hospitals. It's the exact same thing as the hospitals. What they're saying in the news and what they're saying about the stores and buying and blah, blah, blah. Because one guy's like, oh, yeah, I'm a security guard. By being a security guard, the wait's only 10 days. For regular people, they changed it for 30 days. Bullshit. I got my gun on the 11th day. They're like, come pick up your gun. No problem.
Really?
And I just bought a fucking shotgun. I'm right. And a buddy of mine, Leo, he just bought a gun. He went into the store, did the test. You know,
then that means that they blatantly lied in the LA Times.
Oh, 100%.
Because they said that all gun stores are closed in LA County.
Guns direct. Fuck if I.
Well, it does work though, because
I didn't fucking go.
No,
I assumed
exactly.
they're closed. I was like,
Same
well, I'm not
thing.
like, yeah, I wanted to get another one.
Yeah,
And I was
exactly.
like,
Here, I just want to even give a shout out to these wonderful people in Burbank
wow.
that sold me my gun.
That's infuriating. That also just shows disinformation, like blatantly lying, like government lying through the fucking media about something.
I mean,
Like
but
that's crazy though. I know, but like it's
Look, these bad boys. Guns direct in Burbank off Magnolia. That's I bought my ARs. I bought many things from there.
let's pay them.
I just got this new bad boy, M&P.
but they
Shield.
require Robert. They require appointment, right?
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
I definitely make an appointment.
Make
You
an
go
appointment.
on their website and you could set up the appointment. I didn't have an appointment. I was lucky. I got in. I got out, and now I'm looking at just to get the collection while I'm defending my home.
Yeah.
I want to get one of those lever action rifles, like the ones you see in Westworld.
Yeah.
One of those bad boys. But no, don't believe that, guys. Get out there and buy your guns, please.
Yeah,
Defend yourselves because
yeah.
anarchy's coming.
Yeah.
No, I'm serious.
Yeah. Totalitarian rules coming. Was already here.
Yeah, they already said if shit hits the fan here in Los Angeles, there's not enough Coast Guards or National Guard,
Yeah.
police, military.
no,
there's
there's
not
nothing.
enough,
There's no way.
and the response time's ridiculous.
No way.
So
Yeah. It's
arm up.
yeah, that's crazy. I'm glad you told me that because
We'll go tomorrow if you want.
yeah. I've been trying to get the AR.
Yeah,
But I was impossible. I've got a great build I want to go.
it takes 2 seconds. Just do the test.
Yeah.
When-
Daniel Defense is what I'm looking at.
which one?
Daniel Defense.
What's Daniel Defense?
That's just one of the top ARs you can get, I guess. Like just best quality is what was recommended to me by military people or gun enthusiasts who just say it's like one of the better ARs you can get is Daniel Defense.
Yeah, that's another podcast.
That is.
That's a fucking whole other podcast.
I was almost going to bring my body armor I bought. Just arrived last week. It's
Yeah.
so sick. Level 3+ plates. Full tactical vest.
Nice.
Load out. It's so dope.
Nice.
So dope. I use it to work out.
That's a YouTube. Just shoot it.
Yeah. Oh,
test
dude,
it out.
it's so sick. Dude, I just wear it around my apartment with no pants on, just stare at myself in the mirror.
Yeah, so weird. That's
So
fucking
weird, but I mean,
Why you see and aliens flying here to see that? Like,
Yeah.
okay, there it is.
Yeah, they're like,
There's
fuck these guys. They're like, yeah.
This shit's
Yeah, they're not ready for us. This guy's walking around his apartment in a tactical vest and his underwear with nobody around. They ain't ready.
They ain't ready at
They
all.
can't handle this truth.
No, I strongly would say the conclusion of this podcast, of this episode, round one. This is what it's gonna be called, round one, because I know there's gonna be more rounds. Is government or higher power, not higher power, but laws is trying to separate us from family, from friends, from
Everything. Well,
unity.
It's division. It's division. Yeah.
Yeah, division.
100% at the core of everything. The core of everything. If you just watch the news, man, everything. It's doom and gloom. It's divisiveness. It's separation. It's racism. It's fear. It's
neighborhoods,
everything.
cars,
Everything. Like, and that's that full circle with psychedelics.
And at the same time, we're all one race. We're the human race.
Human race. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. Like, but the psychedelics show you that, man. They show you it in a way, in a language and an understanding that hits you at the core of your being, of your soul, where you suddenly realize that this is so much grander, and we're all one. Like, why? It's one of the most liberating things ever, and will crash your paradigm down in a good way, destroy your ego, disintegrate it. Especially if, I mean, we should have a podcast strictly on psychedelics, and I will give you a bunch of stories from all my different experiences with the various ones.
But I would have to try it before.
I can help you with that.
Good.
I know people.
Then until then, Nate, thank you, brother.
Thank you for having me, man.
What's your social media again, so people can find you?
I'm really, I mean, screw all the others. I'm really only on Instagram, and even that I kind of suck. But it's Nate A for Andrew Scholz, SCHOLZ. Find me on Instagram. I'm occasionally funny on there. And I do a lot of traveling, so I post cool pictures and behind the scenes
We
stuff.
got to compare our travels.
Yeah.
Until next time.
Fun behind the scenes stuff too on filming if you're into that.
We'll do it.
Thanks,
I promise.
Bye, Nate.
Good to be here. Thanks, Jaime.
Thanks, Jamie.